Islam Council General.
Islam, General.
Islam. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the phones over to you. I'm gonna go around here and get these hours real quick, man.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I picked up my waters from my man already.
Okay.
That's what I was doing earlier.
Okay. I just text Edwards Bay and said that he's there waiting on to pick it up. And
yeah. I've been moving all morning. I ain't been sitting still yet.
I get it. I get it. All right, I got you.
All right. It's already on recording, so just stop the recording once the meeting is over.
Okay, then.
All right.
All right. All right, I got it.
Okay.
All right. Peace and love.
Peace and love. I'm gonna have it on my phone. I'm gonna be listening, but I ain't gonna be able to speak because I'm gonna be the children. But I'm gonna have it on a low tone where I can hear though.
All right, I got you.
Email my cell phone. Yeah. All right. Islam.
Islam, family. Islam.
Islam, Omar.
They could show you how to do it at the village.
What's wrong with you?
Islam Council General Bati Bey.
Islam?
Islam, oh man, when we get started, can you do the divine constitution for me?
Islam.
Islam. The Swift Angel 151.
Islam, can you hear me?
Islam, oh man, can you read after he does the divine constitution, can you read chapter 62, holy instruction from the prophet, instability of mind?
Islam.
Islam, gratitude, Mo. How you be, Mo?
All is well. All is well.
You ain't out tooling?
Say that again.
I say you're not out tooling today?
Nah, man, I got a couple of things to do. I need to be out, but man, I got things that, man, some stuff that just kind of shook me up, hit me. One of my dude I was incarcerated with, he was in the county jail and ended up getting they shot him in the head last night. And yeah, that kind of bothered me because what he was doing was he was actually moving on behalf of, those who were, in the county jail. They was trying to kind of treat him bad. So they took a guard hostage and they ended up killing him. But, I knew him personally though. He was solid, but, just under them conditions, man,
Yeah.
But he was a fighter, man. So he ended up taking him off the count. So I'm kind of like debating. I'm just sitting back thinking, man, looking at it like that.
That's a people don't realize how
Islam, Mighty Morris.
Islam, how that is the worst condition. That's the worst human condition that you can be in. And them institutions. I was a CO for 10 years. It's just you got COs in there that was picked on when they was little, so they get a job and come and try to bully people, and it's a mess.
Yeah, it is.
Islam, family.
Islam. Over my career, I cut down 5 brothers that hung themselves. Just couldn't handle it,
Yeah, so I'm kind of looking at that, and I'm seeing all of I'm calling the black civil rights leaders. I'm seeing them show up and how they demonstrating or whatever, and it's I'm just kind of sitting back observing it. But to them and you share with them, just basic, law.
Yeah.
They don't really want to hear it, and I see that it ain't necessarily about the people. It's more or less king ambition and ego in a way. You know what I'm saying? Want to be known as I was the first black man to do this or whatever.
Yeah. We're gonna get ready to get started. Freeman Hill, can you lead us in the prayer this morning? And then Bati Bey got the divine constitution, Mo.
Islam.
Is it 11?
58.
Got 2 minutes, okay. 11 o'clock, go ahead with the prayer.
Islam.
National Assistant Grand Sheik, we're gonna get started right at 11.
Islam.
Mo. Islam National Grand Secretary of State. Islam National Grand Secretary of State. Who you got said? Is that the prophet beside you? Oh, it's the chairman. I thought that was the prophet.
I love being me.
I hope Hayes Sample Bay don't see you. He might get scared. Say he really reincarnated now. Islam.
Islamism. I am Terrell Freemanell of the Maryland Consulate, Baltimore Territory. First, I rise and give highest praise to the great God Allah, Father of the universe. Highest honors to his prophet, our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. Highest honors to our Moorish American government, Act 1, our officials and citizens. Islam. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Islamism.
First, I'd like to rise and give all manner of praises to Allah, honors to the Prophet, honors to our theocratic government, our royal council, our flag, seal, emblem, divine ministers, divine constitution, swift angels, muftis, citizens alike, honors to all the Moors here and there. My name is Dr. Tada Amtuani, Bedi with Iowa Territory. Salvation, our God, unity, the divine constitution of Moorish America. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs, if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. The bylaws. Act 2. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7, and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh, and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah's love. 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality. And we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must properly attend their meetings and become a part and a partial of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep alive with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Moorish America, pray Allah, the Father of the universe, Father, love, true peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, founding father, framer of the divine constitution and bylaws, Moorish America, Islam, peace and love.
Islam, family. I am Atum Duamateb Mubasa Bay, Oklahoma Consulate. Islam. Islam, Islam. I rise in perfect praise. You all praise, honor, and glory to our Father, God Allah, our illustrious Prophet, High Sharif Abdul Ali. Act 1, our flag and signs, emblems, and everything that is Moorish. And also, honest to this research team. Gratitude, our adept chamber. Chapter 62. Holy instructions from the Prophet. The instability of man. Inconstancy is powerful in the heart of man. Intemperance weigheth it, whether it will. Despair engrosseth much of it, and fear proclaimeth, behold, I sit unrivaled therein. But vanity is beyond them all. We, therefore, at the calamities of the human state, rather laugh at its follies. In the man addicted to vanity, life then is but a shadow of a dream. The most renowned of human character, what is he but the bubble of his weakness, of this weakness? The public is unstable and ungrateful. Why should the man of wisdom endanger himself for fools? The man who neglecteth his present concern to revolve with how he will behave when greater, feedeth himself with wind while his bread is eaten by another. Act as becometh thee in thy present station, and in more exalted ones thy face shall not be ashamed. What blindeth the eye, or what hideth the heart of a man from himself like vanity? Lo, when thou seest not thyself, then others discover thee most plainly. As the tulip that is gaudy without smell, conspicuous without use, so is the man who setteth himself up so high and has not merit. The heart of the vain is troubled, while it seemeth content. His cares are greater than his pleasures. His solicitude cannot rest with his bones. The grave is not deep enough to hide it. He extendeth his thoughts beyond his being. He bespeaketh praise to be paid when he is gone. But whosoever promiseth it deceiveth him. As the man who engageth his wife to remain in widowhood, that she disturb not his soul, so is he who expected that his praise shall reach his ears beneath the earth, or cherish his heart in its shroud. Do well while thou livest, but regard not what is said of it. Content thyself with deserving praise, and thy posterity shall rejoice in hearing it. As the butterfly who seeth not his own colors, as the jasmine which feeleth not the scent it casteth around it, so is the man who appeareth gay, and biddeth others to take note of it. To what purpose, saith he, is my vesture of gold? And are my tables filled with dainties, if no eyes gaze upon them? If the world knows it not. Give thy raiment to the naked, and thy food unto the hungry. So shall thou be praised, and feel that thou deservest it. Why bestowest thou in every man the flattering of unmeaning words? Thou knowest when returned thee, thou regardest it not. He knoweth he lieth unto thee, yet he knoweth thou wilt thank him for it. Speak in sincerity, and thou wilt hear with instruction. The vain delighteth to speak of himself, but he seeth not that others like not to hear him. If he has done anything worth praise, if he possesseth that which is worthy of admiration, his joy is to proclaim it, his pride to hear it reported. The desire of such a man defeateth itself. Men say not, behold, he has done it, or see, he possesseth it, but mark how proud he is of it. The heart of man cannot attend at once to too many things. He who fixeth his soul on show loseth reality. He pursueth bubbles which break in their flight, while he treads to earth what would honor him. Islam.
Islam, Islam, Islam. First, I want to rise and praise Almighty God Allah. I want to give honor to our holy prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I want to give honor to our Moorish American theocratic government. I want to give honor to our divine constitution of Moorish America. Want to give honor to Act 1 of said Constitution. Want to give honor to all consulates in Moorish America. Want to give honor to this special class of our Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate Zoom meeting. Want to give honor to all of the Moors who opened our meeting according to law, and want to give honor to each and every one of you that have joined us today for this class. Just before I turn the floor over to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh in Islam, I am Sheikh Ashby Bey of the Maryland Consulate. Just want to give a few announcements. Consul General Malik El Bey is on a mission, but he is listening. Consul General Rogers Bey is on a weekend vacation with his boys. Consul General Maz Bey called me and let me know that his schedule on the job has changed, and he works these Sunday mornings, and he's working to get that changed. And also our Grand Secretary of State of North Carolina, Minister Tacoma Powell Bey, just keep her and her family in your prayers. She lost her father Friday night. So at this time, Moors, I want to turn the floor over to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, who is also looking like the prophet. So we got twins on here. Islam Assistant Grand Sheikh.
Islam, Grand Man,
Islam.
Islamism. Yes, sir.
You looking good, Mo.
Oh,
Both of y'all,
strive.
chairman, and you looking good, Mo.
Yeah, we striving to manifest the prophet, say, imitate him, Islam. Gratitude, Grand Man. But let us rise first and give all praises to the great God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere. And therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal, Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws. And honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything, and I mean everything that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. We give honors for this grand meet, indeed, Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate. And as we told our Moorish kin, when we speak of the Sultanate, this is something that was taken away in the past, and the prophet is the one that's governing. For those who don't know, the root word actually comes from the Grand Quran. It deals with actually divine authority, divine power, and you have no power without your Moorish American government. And so the prophet is our Sultan. The prophet is ruling from the plane of the soul. The prophet is seated in the east. And it was in the Sultanate in the past that we instructed, our people. So we give honors to the Moors that are here. And like our brother Base say, this is our special chamber of unfoldment. And we have dealing with today's special measure, we are actually dealing with the questions and the answers. What is our religion? Islamism. You see, is that the new or old time religion? You see, and it's the old time religion. And so from this special direction, we'll go into the book of fire as we always do to set the tone. And in setting the tone, we can actually go into page 379, and we will go into 380, and we will get one of our Moorish kin to read from page, again, 379 to 380, and you can stop on the architecture, it's Islamism, and you can start on Islamism is many sciences. Islam, we have a volunteer.
Islam.
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 Islam, Gerald Hamid Muhammad Bey, Consul General from South Carolina, Consul, page 379, National Sister Grand Sheik.
Yes, sir. 379 to 380.
Islam, Islam, gratitude, gratitude. Hold on just a minute. Let me get to that page. 379. Islam, Islam, Islam. I am Dr. Gerald Hamid Muhammad Bey from the South Carolina Consulate Post Consulate. First, let me rise in praise to the great God Allah, who is the best known and arranger of all things. I give highest honors to our prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who is the last prophet of this new era and time. He is the seventh manifestation in divine flesh, the seventh angel, Al-Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. I give honors to Act 1, our divine constitution and bylaws. I give honors to our grand national seal, our grand national emblem, and our grand national flag. I give honors to this theocratic government in which we all live and can live. I give honors to all the Moors online. I give honors to everything Moorish. I give honors to the Baltimore Consulate. From page 379, Islamism is the study of inner peace, the science of universal harmonies. The first signs and symbols were designed and used by the ancient Moabites. Then Solomon man, in his assuming the title of God, describes the Moorish ancient way of life as paganistic and heathenism. However, upon investigation, we can see no civilization existed unless they used some aspect of this paganistic idol worshiping stew. The study of the great gods.
You breaking up, Muhammad Bey.
Yeah.
You breaking up.
I'm breaking up.
It's Islam. Can we get another reader?
Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Base Bay, Oklahoma Consulate. Honors previously given. I didn't catch where he left off at, so is it okay if I start over?
Islam, man.
Islam. Islamism is many sciences. Islam. Symbols are the embodiment of a multiplicity of thoughts compiled into a single expression. Symbols are man-made emblems that personify the characteristics of a state, condition, era, formulas, etc., which are immaterial. Symbols usually interpret the purpose or use of many things while also showing both its magnitude and limitations. People are accustomed to symbols being around them every day. Most symbols are easily recognized. Example given, the skull and crossbones represent poison or death. The cross represents the church or Christianity. The red circle slash represents don't or not allowed. The circle bell represents telephone. The circle blue represents handicap or wheelchair. Symbols have unnumbered meanings and are used to represent the business of man, from highway signs to national flags and from industries to space explorations. But it is the symbol of understanding which most people do not identify nor use effectively. Symbols of understanding are often referred to as architect tools. They are not as commonly known as their kindred symbols of astronomy and astrology. The glory of this trinity of symbols is they all are nourished from the breast of divine geometry, astronomy, astrology, and architecture. Religion, a science of the Moorish. The key to knowing the sciences of the above three sacred schools rests in knowledge of their history. Noble Drew Ali said, what your ancient forefathers were, you are today without doubt or contradiction. No one is able to change man from his descent nature of his forefathers unless his powers extend beyond the great creator, Allah himself. Go back to your ancient forefathers' state of mind and accomplish what you will. The Holy Prophet further added, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Hence, we the Moorish are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. Every man needs to worship under his own vine and fig tree. It will also do well to point out, for the clarity of our signs and symbols subject matter, Noble Drew Ali was prepared by the great God Allah to bring the true and divine creed of Islam, to teach the old-time religion and the everlasting gospel to the sons of men. Though the trinity of symbols aforementioned is to define the science of civilizing used by the ancient ones, which Noble Drew Ali called Islamism. Then perhaps the reader will understand why the Europeans' only way to conquer the Moors was to knock them in the head, rendering them unconscious. See Masonry's Hiram Abiff. Islamism, the scientific use of signs, symbols, and tools, was the creed of the ancient Moors. It was applied and lived thousands of years before the advent of Prophet Muhammad, who gave it the perfected name Islam, peace. See the seal of the prophets. The Europeans classified the Moorish mind as a galactic weapon. When a Moor was functioning on all points, thinking, he was considered armed and dangerous. In order to disarm them as a people of love, truth, and peace, they had to be disallowed to think, reason, and will, or to understand. Every Moorish child had to become an idiom. A Muslim is one who submits his will to the will of the great God. All ancient Moors were Muslim, and they lived Islam by its components. Islamism as a study of inner peace. The science of universal harmonies. The first signs and symbols were designed and used by the ancient Moabites. Then so-called modern man, in his assuming the title of God, describes the Moorish ancient way of life as paganistic and heathenism. However, upon investigation, we can see no civilization existed unless they used some aspect of this modern European Hebrew version of this paganistic idol-worshiping stew. Islam. Astronomy is a part of Islamism. The study of the great gods, planets, stars, and their movements in their systems. The ancient ones reverenced the universal order and applied this geometric system to their society. Astronomy was a dutiful way of life for Moors, so much so, it was added as a natural part of their holistic government. It was as natural as drinking water. In fact, in this chapter on religion, Noble Drew Ali reveals, and in the law's universal divine order, he has ordained as the rule of life. So kindly has he united thy duty to thy nature, that obedience to his precepts is happiness to thyself. Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 35, ayat 21. Islamism is navigation. From astronomy, the Moors acquired the omnipotent guidelines to charter courses across land, sea, sky, and universe. They were able to map the mental growth of the soul, which men later called enlightenment, by denoting its actions of thinking, reasoning, willing, and understanding. They developed systems of navigation shortly after the fall. It became obvious to man as he was descending from his God state, he must now pre-measure and mark his travels, unless he would be lost in perpetual finite realm of why. Navigation is simply carnal man's way of traveling by the senses, and guidance is the divine pathway of the gods. Drew Ali said, man, spirit man, travels from the center to the outer bounds of life. But the consciousness of man feels from the infinite to the finite as he descended slower into a human state. This is when foolish man became lost and had to devise north, east, south, and west as directional tools to mark his earthbound travels. In truth, the center of man is in the heart of man. This is where he must inwardly find his God state. But that is too simple and right. So what does man do to find himself? God. Through rituals and forms, they face places on earth in the NESW, or the North, East, South, West, that he himself has previously marked to offer prayers to a God that he declared is omnipresent and everywhere at once. Silly human. If the great God is truly everywhere, why go anywhere outside of self to offer reverence? Islamism is the zodiac. The ancient ones' recognition of the divine coordinates between planets, the timetable of manifest destiny, and man with other forms of life. These coordinates are the spiritual or astral bonds which design orbital effects upon other living cycles, past, present, and future. Time elements are divided into increments of hours, days, years, and ages. These too are often divided into celestial governments of 12 houses called zodiac. These houses are life cycles. Still, these houses are preceded by the suffix zo, which implies animal kingdom. Example given, zoo. The word zodiac means world of little animals because each of the 12 houses is represented by a symbol reflective of the characteristics of their special house. The ancient Moors were able to reason early in the life of man. All life evolves in cycles of fruition. True astronomy is the living of manifest destiny and the consciousness of man's deific life. Man was created perfect. He came from a perfect source. He, therefore, is a perfect being, and to perfection he must return. This is the true purpose for the zodiac. Who would know this better than the ancient Canaanites? They later inhabited Terry-Mathian kingdoms in the Upper Nile, whom first designed the zodiac as a celestial calendar to measure their own growth. Minx, an elder wise man from China, once told Yehoshua, all things are thought, all life is thought activity. The multitude of beings are but phases of the one great thought made manifest. Lo, the great God is thought, and thought is the great God. Architecture is Islamism. A conscious Moor is an architect because his creator God has the master plan. Fruit never falls far from its tree. The ancient ones were masters of designing large living structures. They were built from the high essence of the earth to house the oracles personifying the oneness of God and man. These living structures are the original computers built geometrically perfect with the principles of higher character of man, using only the power of thought. Some of these structures are the ancient mounds, pyramids, pagodas, etc. The ancient Muslims built these structures to this day, and these structures still stand in the Americas, Africa, and China. They live. Made in the image of the character of the man to his creator, none of these structures were built with a hammer's sound. Like the 9-month making of a God-man, the woman do not use hammer or nails. Yet, she can develop a God by following the divine design of the master architect. Islamism is truly the work done when the will of man is in harmony with the will of his creator, being himself, the God that he is. Hebrew or Jew. The term Hebrew and Jew, according to recorded history, were derogatory names resulting from nearly 400 years of tribal enslavement under the Cometian gods, pharaohs of the Nile. No slave master has ever let their slaves function under their free national names of their forefathers, not while they were in bondage. Hebrew and Jew were slave labels cast upon the Israelite tribes during the time of slavery. In fact, most Bible scholars agree that the Jews were never heard of until after Moses and the Exodus. The religion of the Jews were watered down versions of the ancient Egyptian mystery system, including prostration, baptism, circumcision, psalms, Madonna, and the rectangular shape of the building for worship. Moses's new school of thought was actually the result of his Egyptian upbringing. The Egyptians called those that accepted his teaching Jews. Noble Drew Ali said, "Woe to those who claim to be a Jew." This was in 1926, nearly 20 years before the Jewish Holocaust. When Ali made this statement, some uninformed people assumed the prophet was anti-Jewish. Quite the contrary, he knew the religion of Isaac was established by his forefathers and therefore fully conscious of who is or is not a Jew. It must be remembered, he was trying to teach a people who were freshly freed from slavery and wouldn't know a true Jew if one was to kiss them in the mouth. Actually, his brother Yehoshua had given the warning by Noble Drew Ali 2,000 years early, when he also warned to be aware of those who say that they are Jews and are not. Revelation chapter 2, ayah 9. Modern televised European Jews are not the vintage Hebrew Jews of Africa, Arabia, or Ethiopia. They are Khazars, who descended from the Caucasus and converted through the back door of Judaism by claiming jumping descendant kindred through Jacob's son Judah. The ancient Hebrews came from the 12 sons of Jacob. All were ripe-skinned people with an abundance of melanin, Africans, and are not mistaken unless purposely. The Ashkenazism formulates the section of the Hebrews' Judaism, which are compiled of pale skin, mostly of Teutonic origin or amalgamation. Originating from Russia, Germany, and Poland, they spoke Yiddish and were distinguishable from the Phalicism and the Seraphidim. This is one reason why Judaism has 3 branches, noted as conservative, or orthodox, and the reformed. The original Hebrew religion was a religion of peace, commonly referred to simply as shalom, or peace. Moses tried to teach this religion to the peoples of Europe, but they sustained their warlike nature and aggressive nature even while they saturated through the Babylonian period. Peace, shalom, was later transmitted through the seeds of Abraham, the father of many nations. The many nations are subdivisions of his son, Ishmael and Isaac. One became the father of the Jews, the other the father of the Muslims. These sons were bound by a holy covenant of the human nations to never war against each other. This is why their religions are virtually identical in practice, form, and rituals. Even the name Shalom in Islam have the same definition, peace. However, both accepted an admixture of the teachings from afar, and to this day, when they are not opposed to each other, they turn against themselves for not honoring the creed and the principles of their forefathers. Although the distinction of Hebrew in the Old Testament, Torah, and the Jews do not appear until the New Testament is clear, most scholars write history as they see it, not as it was. Abraham was definitely African, a Chaldean, but not so in Western movies, books, and religion. With the pale skin adaptation of the Hebrew religion came the new terminologies Jew, Judaism, and Semite. These terms propagandize the cover-up of existing original true Israelites. Examples given: the Kowloon or the Kemphin Fuju of China, or the Hasidim of West Africa, or even the untelevised Yemen or Beni of India, etc. The Sephardim are the Jews, which became filthy rich from the sale of the African slave trade. They were of African Hebrew origin, but spoke Spanish, Portuguese, Turkish, or Arabic. The Sanhedrin of this order were the chief money lenders to Queen Isabel and King Ferdinand of Spain to finance their overthrow of the Moorish 800-year conquest and civilization of Spain and Italy. The Sephardim were the chief conquistadors of the Indians, paramount slavers of the Western African or Moors. They participated in the dehumanization, mutilation, and denationalization of their brothers with the European Christians from Granada to the New Netherlands, New York. The Sephardim Jews were so active in this exploitation that Hashem showed some feigned compunctions. Perhaps it was business, not personal, because 450 years later, it was these same Jews that encountered the pogrom of Adolf Hitler.
Islam. Yes, sir. Islam. Gratitude, grand man, for that great read. Brother Mubasa Bey, we give honors to you, grand man, for that drawing, and honors to our brother Muhammad Bey as well. You know, for beginning and starting off, you know, this is special reading. And also, you know, we want to give honors to the Baltimore Consulate for holding it, you know, open the doors, so to speak. We want to give honors to our Grand National Chairman, Dr. Akin Acton Pert M. Heru Tutankhamen Bey, you know, for the blessings and the lessons that he has brought forth. You know, man, it's just a grand drawing. You know, when you look at this and you talking about Islamism as we seen, I mean, a lot of times we equate the word Islam with a word, you know, in the English language. But, you know, if you go into the language of the Grand Quran, you know, the word Ism, Asma, they actually use it that way as well because the vowels are interchangeable. You will actually see in there that, you know, this actually has to take one into a state of being, you know, what it is that one is to practice. So as opposed to just saying that, you know, I study Islam, you know, you actually live it out, basically. You know, this is the original way, which is the Ma'adian way. And we're going to get into a few measures in support of this. We see Islamism, astronomy is there. We see in Islamism, navigation is there, the zodiac, you know, architecture. Islamism is in everything, you know, as far as when we go into the essence of doing the research. So Islamism is then a way of life, a complete way of life, you know, a complete way of life that has to do with us mastering ourselves. So when you speak of self-mastery, that's Islamism, you see. And when you talk about, for example, I was speaking of, you know, that word asma that goes back to Ism, you know, which is really the nature of the great God himself. You know, they actually use that even to put it in front of the word, what they call the Asma wa Sifa, you know, the most beautiful names of Allah. And so when you're dealing with the attributes of Allah, you're dealing with the nature of Allah, you're dealing with his names, his divine names. You know, so that in and of itself gives you a grand drawing when you think about Islamism, because it is the only way that you can actually personify and live the true meaning of this divine creed, by personifying the attributes. What good is there to know that Allah is love if we don't learn to personify the love of Allah? What good is there to know that the great God Allah is the truth? He is peace, freedom, justice, if we are not looking to personify those things. In other words, it is as if the principles, we know they are always active and not passive. They're always on the manifest, you know, but, you know, we always say it like this, where our science is a living manifestation. We talk about power, you know, being on the manifest when we are able to exert ourselves in the exercise of that power at the will of our own use. Islam. So it's one thing to know what peace is, but another thing to be peace. And this is what we strive to do. We strive to manifest peace by becoming peace in action. That's the purpose of the attributes, and that's how you tap into the powers of your own divinity, by having the knowledge. But like they say, knowing is half the battle. You know, once you know, then you got to be what you know. You see? So if you get a chance, do research in that especially area. You know, and it's just 99 attributes that's mentioned, but the great God Allah has many attributes. And all of these things are again in creation. So if we are able to train our consciousness to be able to read the book of creation, to be able to read the book of nature, then we will have a grand understanding of Islamism. We even have, you know, the symbolism that represent that, which we're going to get into in a very short matter of time, you know, but we just want to make sure that our Moorish kin got a grand drawing when it comes to Islamism. And we talk about our religion. We're talking about that old time religion. Islamism was on the manifest before Muhammad ibn Abdullah brought the teaching to his people. That's why, you know, they wasn't in all actuality, and I learned this in earlier stages of studying, you know, when one comes into Islamism, they are not converts, they are reverts. You see? So you are returning back to your original way of life. You know, in fact, even if you go into the definition of the word religion, you know, it consists of two words, re and leon, which means to return oneself back to the source. And that's exactly what our holy prophet taught us. We know that the source is the great God Allah himself, the causeless cause, the rootless root, Islam. So having this special knowledge of ourselves and knowledge of our way of life, what more is there that we need to know as opposed to what we need to be? Islam. So we must be that in which we know. And man, we can go on and on with it. You know, our holy prophet tell us that when we deal with our Islamism, we talk about, you know, the state in which one is safe from someone's words, their acts, and their deeds. So if we ain't demonstrating from that special level, then it must not be Islamism. If your brother and your sister not safe from your ways, your acts, your deeds, your words, and so forth and so on, you know, then something ain't right. And don't get it twisted, you know, because anytime we have to get out here and we deal with admonishing our people, that's not an attack on our people. That's an attempt to reach our people. And we've seen even in recent time, some of the same ones that was going fisticuffs have a great admiration and respect for their government now. And they was in staunch opposition. But that has always been the case in certain situations. You had those who were supposed to be following the teachings of the Injil, or what they like to call the New Testament, or whatever the case may be. Some of the people that were supposed to be following them persecuted, you know, the followers of their particular leader and guide, Yehoshua. You know, you had some of the companions of our brother Muhammad ibn Abdullah, you know, that was in staunch opposition as well. Beat some of the believers up at that time. Muslims beat them up. You know, brother by the name of Ali, and end up becoming the one that the actual esoteric or the spiritual knowledge, you know, it came through his lineage. In fact, a lot of people don't know that when you go into Morocco, because we always talk about the prophet, we talk about his journey, you know, we talk about everything that he did to uplift fallen humanity. But what we don't know is that when he came on that journey, dealing with the name and unfolding as El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali. You know, the Hajj dealing with the journey. See, all this is adept measures here, right? The Hajj dealing with the journey. Then he himself coming from there, going into the comedian chambers. You know, man, it was just powerful. Actually went into Kemet first, and then he went into, you know, his Hajj. But then on the way back, when he received that attribute, Ali, which is the most exalted, the most high amongst us, when he received that, Moorish kin, it's a lot attached to that special attribute that our people don't know. Because if we understand the first Moors who established the special civilization, the ancient Moors, you know, they came through the likes of the Fatimid dynasty. And the Fatimid dynasty is actually descendants of Ali. You see, the Fatimid dynasty is not only descendants of Ali, and they look just like us as well, but when you go deeper into it and come into the modern time, you got the Sharifian and the Ali that is right there in the line of Moroccan so-called history, as they call it, right? Well, who were these people? We were their fathers. They are our children, but they don't even acknowledge their own nationality and divine creed, right? And half of them ain't practicing Islamism even to this day. They can't even tell you what the 5 point represent, even though we gave them the star. You see what I'm saying? So that word Sharif and that word Ali was given to them again by our ancestors. Them two names in that special area, the land that the original ancient Moabites were the original inhabitants of, you know, those who came through the line. The word Sharif actually exists in the Grand Quran. Sharif simply means noble. You see, it didn't come from the West. It didn't come from a Masonic lodge or a shrine. It didn't come from Queen Elizabeth. You know, it didn't come from nobody in England when you talk about nobility and so forth and so on. It came from Allah himself, Moorish kin. So that name reached us through our prophet, Sharif and Ali, right? The Hajj is the journey. Again, Abdul means servant. Was not our holy prophet a servant of humanity? His name represents degrees of unfoldment. So when you look at that and you understand that, then you understand what it is that he brought us. And you can really get a grasping on what he has taught our people. This is a mastermind. Well, just as he went on a journey, you know, other masterminds had to go on journeys as well. But what I'm gonna do, I wanna start sharing my screen at this particular point. And I wanna give our Moorish kin some visual insight, so to speak. Let me get all this other stuff up out of here. Okay. This is what I want to touch on right here, first and foremost. We was talking about the attributes, because see, many people say, well, what is the school of thought of the Moorish? And some Moors think that their school of thought is Al-Islam, and nothing can be further from the truth. And when we say this, we don't say this in a disrespectful way, you know, because the term Al-Islam didn't come on to manifest until recently. Islamism as a way of life, you know, there are stages and degrees of unfoldment, even in regards to dealing with that. So what I'm showing you here, the importance of this, you know, I spoke of the Moors before about the Sabaga, you know, and the Sabaga, in the essence, what it actually deals with, and don't get this confused, you know, with the aspects of manifest things, because it tells you here, these are some of the definitions that they chose for the word, but you're gonna see the real definition is pretty much in here, you know. In one aspect, they had a measure where they said it had to do with to die, to color, to baptize, to dip, to immerse, hue, assume. And this is basically who the translator reaching for words to try to explain this word sabaga. You see, but the main root of the word has to deal with nature. Sibak atun. If you look at the word atun, which is A-T-U-N, and most words in the Quran have that root in it. I wonder why. Atun, Aten. You see Aten in the name of the chairman, Aken Aten. We know that Aten worship are dealing with, you know, the teachings of Aten was dealing with the worship, you know, of monotheism. You see, all the way back in ancient Kemet. So it's not strange that they use this word. I'm talking about in most of their words, you will see it, you know, the flow word is atun. Atun, you know, when they reciting and all of that right there. Sabiq atun, right? So it says it means die. That's his definition of it. Don't beat him up. So religion, that's the main one. Nature, attribute. These are the drawings that coincide with what we are talking about when we talk about conforming to our divine creed. So it say in the Holy Quran, Surah 2, Ayat 138, the attributes of God and his code of law is called Sabiqa. This word has been adopted. There's a hint to Christians that baptism of water does not effect any change in a person. It say it is takluk bi akhlaq Allah. It say that is the adoption of God's attributes and broad principle of faith. It say bring about the real change in the mind and character. You see? So it say it is through this baptism that the new birth take place. Now it's referring to taking on the character of the attributes of the Creator. And they saying, well, that's the true baptism. It ain't got nothing to do with somebody slam dumping you into water, dipping your head, talking about you blessed and putting the cross on you, you know, because it simply means purification. Baptism is just another word for what they would like to call, you know, the prophets say, keep your body pure with water. But it's another way of what they would call in the Islamic world of making wudu. You know, but that's the outward demonstration. Washing the body with water, oh, that's just a ritual, all right. And I learned this early on. You see, all the washing the nose and the, well, what is the significance of these things? You washing the mouth to wash that filth away, you know, that you might have smoked during the day. You know, how to keep it out of there, so to speak. That's the consciousness of the act, right? You wash, you know, the nostrils out, you know, because that's the inflow, you know, of not only holy breath, but if you ain't careful, you know, the breath of death can get up in that demonstration. You know, that leads into the self and corrupts the senses and so forth and so on. So you might be thinking of something, you know how you say, man, that smells bad. There's a stench going on. You know, that special drawing right there can refer to a mind state. You see, that can refer to a state of consciousness. See, this is all science that we're dealing with here, right? So, you know, you washing the face, you know, a lot don't care nothing about no clean face on the physical aspect, you know, but we know we symbolically say when you keep your face clean, you know, in all actuality, even in among the common people, but it's had to do with you having a good character. You see, washing your hands, you know, from unjust acts, you know, have you harmed somebody? You don't put your hand on somebody's child. Islam, you know, just different things, Moorish kin, our feet symbolically walking in a certain area. See, they don't teach that over there when you're dealing with Islam. They just want you to go through the rituals, go, oh, this is the way of the prophet. But when you go into the Grand Quran, it don't even tell you to go through the rites in that special way. You see, so these are all additions too. And we are mentioning this because these are the things that you will have to deal with when you're talking to certain individuals that think they know Islam. You know, even the acts of prayer and what they call salat. A lot of people don't know that this deals with nothing more than sun salutations. You know, these are nothing more than what you would call the act of, well, some people call it prostration and so forth, but it's really nothing more than another form of yoga. In all of these particular forms, and we got a PDF we put out there in the past dealing with the Comedian Pa'ashita, you know, and it shows you every different prayer mode and where it came from in ancient Kemet. Most of it came out of the temple of the temples in Nakada. You see, and Nakada is a place that was rich in the teachings of Ta. Now we hear about the teachings of Ta Hotep, which are the teachings of peace. But Ta is also, when we did our research in the past, you know, definitely in connection with Allah. You know, this is said to be the divine craftsman. That's just another attribute of the creator. We even went into Takadman, you know, and all of that. So all of this stuff can be traced back to Kemet. But the key in regard to dealing with this Sabaga, this is dealing with a school of thought. Our school of thought in Islamism means we take on the nature and the attributes of God. This is our code of law. This is what theocracy is about, taking on the code of law. So if somebody, Arab or somebody asks you, you know, well, what's your school of thought? What madhab you follow? Because, you know, they got the Maliki, the Shafi, the Hanafi. You know, you tell them, you know, I follow the way of the Sabakatu. You see, I follow the way of the Sabiq if you're speaking to them in that language. And they can't deny it. In other words, I'm taking on the nature and the attributes of Allah. Now, if they dispute you after that, then run, because they're crazy. So here also, this word Saba at the root, this is very important. Very important. You know, because actually it goes into, you know, that this word actually means to assume or adapt, right? From a verb, akudu, right? But it's condiment, sauce, relish, savior. You know, you hear the young generation talk about they got sauce. Well, you got some God sauce. You know, so this is your true hue, the attributes of the great God Allah. Your true hue and your countenance is the attributes of the great God Allah. We couldn't get that to the European. That's why the chairman tell you in the Exhuming of a Nation in the Book of Fire, we couldn't give him a soul. We couldn't give him the attributes of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, because it's not in his nature. See, that's what it's about. It's the nature of one. We couldn't give him this hue, you see? So basically, when they ask you, you know, what's your school of thought, you know, you let them know, well, I take again on that path of the Sibagatu. And that's right there in the Grand Quran. You see in Surah 2, Ayat 138, 23, and 20. See, this is how you get beyond all the argument and leave it like that right now. You know, because you got a lot of people out there don't believe you can be a Muslim because they think they're a Muslim. And we know a Muslim is the will of Allah, while a Muslim is submitting to the will of Allah. Nothing wrong with, you know, submitting in the beginning, but at some time, you got to unfold and conform to the will. Now I have here in a special drawing to give you some insight, you know, in relation to dealing with our brother Muhammad ibn Abdullah. And actually I got another measure right here. Hold up here. I'm trying to get this search. There you go. I didn't know I can move that search bar. Yeah. Okay. I want to go right here. Before I go into that special measure. And you'll know why I'm showing you all of this. This ain't the Arabization. This is Surah Saba. See the translation of the word Sheba. You see that right there? Sheba. Every time you go into the Grand Quran, this is an adept key that most don't know. A lot of Arabs don't even know. Every particular surah, not only does it represent an expression of, what we would call the metaphysical teachings, in the pictorial glyph expression, but also, it's a heart to that special surah. And this one is called Sabah. Now, this word in Arabic means seven. It means, that's one of the definitions, seven. But Shabbat is also the way they use it when they talk about so-called Hebrew, right? When they talk about, the language of the sons of Cush, you hear about Queen Sheba, you see, which really, you talking about the queen of the seven, the queen of the seven centers in man in all actuality. Now, the Sabah were a people, the sons of Cush. So when you go into the Sabaga, or Sabik Atum, we already showed you that goes back to Kemet in essence. But we are showing you these are the things that are hidden under these teachings that you will never see being taught. But you have to do the research. But this root word here has to do with a people that Muhammad traveled with. And if you know anything about the ancient culture of what they call Arabia now, or the land of Canaan, the Cushites, which deal with the Saba, they were the original inhabitants of the land. And he learned from them. That's why the original language, if you go back, and we showed it to you in a couple of classes previous to this, that's why the language is the same as what you would call Amharic or Himyaritic. You see, Cushite language. So the Sabah, it tells you in this surah, basically one of the keys when it spoke of these people that they was a great nation and they was a great civilization, and destruction came to them after basically being disobedient. Remember, it was the Cushites who really, went along the Nile Valley and established that great civilization. They the ones that established the center of Nakada. In these religious creed, Tehudi is the father of Sabi, who is the father of the people of Sabah. Now tell me if that sounds coincidental to you. No, it's not a coincidence. That's by divine design. Tehudi, who is Enoch in the biblical and the Quranic teaching, Akhnuk. If you go into the book Reliance of the Traveler, they got the story. They tell you this one went into Egypt. He went into Kemet. Well, didn't you find in the Comedian teaching that he was the one that taught Alsar? And Alsar was able to civilize Kemet as a result of what he brought? Also knowing Tehudi was the one that first used the scimitar to confess. We talk about that all the time. So all of this is our culture prior to Muhammad receiving what he received. But yet Muhammad found himself traveling in a caravan. See, this is the history they don't talk to you about in Al-Islam. With the Sabi'un Hunafa. And guess what their teaching was? Their way of life was that of Sebugatala, the Sabik, Sabaga. What did they do? They immersed him in the divine wisdom. They didn't baptize him by slam dunking his head, behind an altar. They immersed him in divine wisdom. This is prior to the angel Jibril giving him the other measures. So they prepared him. They have a tradition where they say the angels took his heart out and they purified it, cleansed it with water from the well of Zemzem. When you go to Acts 7, the prophet alluded to being purified. You see, we know knowledge purifies one. So here's one who was chosen to do a work. But nevertheless, after his heart was cleansed and it was purified, it was then that he was confronted by the comedian adept, Jibril. And Jibril wasn't no spook. He wasn't some spirit being floating around out in the ethers. Jibril was a living man, and he was white clad. You see? So if he was among the Sebagat or the Saba, and he came into the teaching of the Sebagat Allah, the emerging into the wisdom under these one, they called them the Sabi'un Hunafa. And they claim descendancy from the line of Akhnuk, Enoch, or Tehudi, Kemetically. They claim descendancy from that line, but he traveled with them and they called them seekers of the truth. So before he came into being known as a prophet or dealing with Islamism, he was a seeker of the truth. So at that time, Hunafa was his particular school of thought. You see, Sufism will go deeper into the depths of these teachings. And I'm gonna get into why they do in a little bit. See, now you're dealing with loftier teachings because it's taking you beyond the plane of things made manifest. You begin to read the book of creation. You begin to read the book of nature. So your Quran becomes your reality, just as our circle 7 has become our reality. So when we move throughout the world of circle 7, you know, we should see it in manifestation as we are manifesting it. Because the prophet became that symbol circle 7 made, man. He was the 7th of the time. We too must unfold and become the 7th of this time, because we are the circle 7 nation, a nation of perfection, right? But nevertheless, the Sibagat in that particular school of thought among the Sabians, the Sabi'un Hunafa, because they mentioned the Sabah by the name Sabian in the Grand Quran as well, it say those who are Christians, those who are Jews, those who are Sabians, all, you know, basically who are doing the work of trying to get closer to the great God Allah, you know, that they will be rewarded for their works. So you hear them talking about the Muslims and the Christians, so-called, but you never hear a lot of talk about the Sabi. And if you do mention, they say, well, them ones, they ain't on the manifest no more and so forth. You see, yeah, they is, they just on the ground. The Sufi adepts received their teachings from the Sabi'un Hunafa as well, through the tradition that continued. In fact, the first teacher that taught the Sufi, Dhul Nun, he, being born in ancient Kemet, tell you that he received his teachings from Tehudi as well. I don't know about y'all, but so much evidence is pointing to the fact, if everybody saying Tehudi did it, then he guilty in a good way. He did it. If everybody claiming descendancy and lineage from Tehudi, even under another name, Enoch or Akhnuk, then he is who he is. Even the Greek, so-called, as they like to call him, right? They have their representation of Tehudi. They call him Hermes, Hermes Trismegistus. And you find in the Quran, you know, our brother, you know, Akhnuk, you know, is referred to as Idris, which means the wise, one that is dealing with wisdom. Wisdom in sacred sciences, wisdom in sacred knowledge. So Idris, you can see where they got to play on the word Trismegistus, the Greeks, so-called, right? Which we know come from Coptic. Oh, my bad. Did you see that Coptic and know that Coptic actually come from the same Cushites in the Sabi'un Hunaf? So it's not strange. Did you know that what they call Arabic come from what was known as Mudar and the Himyaritic, the Cushitic, you know, and the Medunetta that we talk about? See, these are the things that they ain't teaching, because they done organized, you know, in a special measure now to where they're giving it to you, you know, in I say tidbits, and not even that, because some of them are just going along with what they were taught because it is traditional, quote unquote, right? But I'm showing you that our ancestors taught Muhammad ibn Abdullah, and he was just as sun-kissed as us as well. So he had Cushitic blood in him too. I mean, all you got to do is go back to Ishmael His mother was a Kimite. His father was a Cushite. Go figure. So it's only right that the language go right back to the same, connection basically. So this is Surah, this Surah in the Grand Quran, Surah 34, it has to do with the ancient Cushites. That's who it's referring to. We're giving you Moorish commentary. Do the research and you're going to say, yep, that's exactly what it is. Now, this is what I want to go into right now. Let me move my little, trying to move this out the way without, let's see, okay. Trying to move it out the way without doing something I ain't got no business to do. There we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now I want to go into, since we gave you a description of Jibril, this was dealing with the journey of our brother Muhammad ibn Abdul, because masterminds able to trace themselves back, and thus they know again. This is not to Arabize, but to give you instruction in history and insight so that you see the degrees that this particular prophet went through. And you're going to understand, because also the 7 being sacred to the Sabiyun Nafa. Also, I forgot to mention that they actually was demonstrating their acts of salutation 7 times a day. So that's a whole nother measure, not 5. But this is called what they call the Al-Isra wal Miraj. And I'm going to just touch over and skim over certain measures of this because we got other things we want to touch on and have the floor open. It says the great journey of Al-Isra Miraj, and Miraj is dealing with a journey, is rooted in the word that go back to Hajj as well. It took place around the year before the prophet's migration to Medina, right? It say within the Quran, the event is mentioned only briefly. The verse of chapter 17 references the first phase of the journey. Allah Almighty says, glory be to him who carried his servant by night from the holy mosque to the further mosque in the princes of which we are blessed. Now note, this is a journey, not a physical journey, but he has basically left the body, is basically what it's saying. Right there in the Grand Quran, Surah 17, Ayat 1. It said that we might show him some of our signs. Uh-oh, that's Medu Netta right there, right? He is all hearing and all seeing. It say, scholars agree that the Miraj, the second phase of the journey, is the subject of the following verses of chapter Al-Najm, which deal with the star. By the star, when it sets, your companion is not stray, about the day star on high. It's not strange. You see that when you deal with this journey, it's also referencing the stars, because we know Islamism is astrology. It says your companion is not strayed. He is not deluded. He does not speak from his own desire. The Quran is nothing less than a revelation that is sent to him. It was taught to him by an angel with mighty powers and great strength. Now, this wasn't no spook. This was a man, white clad, who stood on the highest horizon and then approached coming down until he was about 2 boat lengths away and even closer, and revealed to God's servant what he revealed. The prophet's own heart did not distort what he saw, just as Prophet Noble Drew Ali's heart didn't distort what it is that he received as a divine revelation. Are you going to dispute with him with what he saw with his own eyes? And a second time he saw him by the lote tree, beyond which none may pass, near the garden of restfulness. Now, we talked about that garden of Allah, in our previous class when we were dealing with the name of Allah. You see, we talked about the garden of peace, restfulness, right? The lote tree. This is the highest state of consciousness. This is the seat. The prophet said he was going to take the Moors up above the sun, moon, and stars around the almighty throne of Allah. You see, crown chakra. Let's get into the sign. They ain't going to teach you that in Al-Islam though, right? It said the second time he saw him, he was by the lote tree beyond which none may pass, near the garden of restfulness. You can't go nowhere beyond the crown chakra in the body. When I say crown chakra, it's activity that go on in there. When I say beyond the crown chakra, in other words, this is your highest height while you in this physical body. That's where you are able to communicate with the divinity. You're able to tap into the divinity. You see, but your God state is when you transcend this physical body. You see, I'm talking about when you drop the guard. That's when you, again, become one with God. When you already have a connection to him now through your God and cord. But we're just saying you don't die and that's it and it's all over. No, it don't work like that. You know, the death that we deal with has to do with an unfoldment of divine revelation that brings about a resurrection, so to speak, in consciousness, in mind. So it say his sight never wavered, nor was it too bold, and he saw some of the greatest signs of his Lord. Again, ayats in nature is what he was. He wasn't reading no Quran in his journey. He was dealing with the Quran of the self, maybe, but he wasn't reading the physical book when he was reading these ayats, which are signs, right? So basically, it talked about him going, you know, and it talked about his chest, you know, being removed, his heart, it washed with the water of Zim, like we mentioned. It talks about, you know, how a vessel of gold was brought to him containing wisdom and faith, which was emptied into his heart, and his chest was closed up. See, all this is symbolic language. You see, it talks about 2 cups that he was given, one containing milk and the other wine. You know, all this is symbolic language. He chooses to drink the milk, it is said. You see, and then Jibreel, the angel, told him, praise be to Allah who guided you to the fitra, the right path. This is all dealing with a journey in itself now. So then Jibreel, his companion, with him, the brother set off on the journey on the Barak, you know, which is said to be a creature that took him on this special journey. You know, he was traveling, you know, somewhat of a cherubim, so to speak. You see, a seraphim. He traveled, it says, at phenomenal speed to Al-Aqsa Mosque. You know about Al-Aqsa Mosque. It's on the manifest right now. You know, the holy city of Jerusalem, as they call it, right? The mosque where he finds Abraham, Moses, and Jesus among the company, it say, of the prophets assembled and waiting for him. Now, we know these prophets was in different times. But when he came into the manifest with them, they was there at the same time. This is how a holy prophet said, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He say, when I'm over here teaching you, I'm in India at the same time. We seen even when Yehoshua 2,000 years ago ascended and transmuted at will, he was able to be in one place and among other people at the same time. He appeared to many different cultures. You know, the Greeks, you know, he appeared to the Kemites. He appeared to, you know, just many different measures. And it went beyond the concept of any aspect of time on a piece that you're looking at on the wall somewhere. Because all it's had nothing to do with time. We had a discussion, you know, with somebody about this. They couldn't even get it. You know, the fact that these people can be in a particular place at the same time when you're dealing with what we call astral projection or traveling or reading the book of creation. Time never was when you in that state. Even people that have had near-death experiences will tell you that time is not as you see time here. Because they're able to go through a measure of where they're dealing with all things at one time being condensed as it is. And that's the speed. Notice it said phenomenal speed. So you talking about thought activity vibrating at a rapid rate that Muhammad was dealing with here. See, they ain't gonna teach you this in Al-Islam. You see? So the part of the journey of the Isra represents his horizontal journey. Start seeing your phone. Start seeing your phone. I'll mute out. So Islam, this part of the journey, Isra represents the prophet's horizontal journey across the visible physical world, right? So he was traveling, you see, and this one has the ability to travel and cross the borderland at will. We know the Prince of Peace demonstrated some measures. The Grand National Secretary and the chairman can give you some insight on them things, but that's another measure. It is distinct from the Mirage and serves, it's as a prelude to it. The Isra contains initiation features. Oh, They admitting to it. Didn't I tell you that this had to do with some initiation? The sanctification and purification of the prophet. Sebagat, the immersion into the wisdom. It's represented by the splitting of the chest is necessary, preliminary to his ascension. Didn't we say that? He was being prepared. It was after this time that the angel Jabril basically began to take him on this journey. After his heart was purified, after his consciousness, it was purified, right? So it's necessary preliminary to his ascension to the heavens. It prepares him for the journey to another dimension beyond time and space and opens up his heart to what he is about to see and experience. Islam. They don't teach that from the pulpit in Islam on a daily basis. It prepares him for the splendid culmination of his journey, the meeting with his Lord. The Isra is also paramount in that it is symbolic of two things. First, it shows Allah's grace and favor upon the prophet. Allah chooses none but him to lead all other prophets and messengers in prayer, thereby consolidating his superior status. Second, it declares universality of Islam. And signifies that it is the seal of all other messages and laws. The next part of the journey is marked by the prophet's ascension to the heavens, the seven heavens, 7 degrees. All the laws of nature and the concepts of time and spaces we know cease to apply. Didn't I just say that? It's saying everything the prophet experiences and sees is beyond human comprehension. Finite minds can't comprehend things that are infinite. At each of the 7 heavens, the prophet accompanied by Jabril encounters a gate and a watcher. Now, if you know anything about gates and watchers, in the teachings of the ancient Kemet, it speaks of the 7 gates. And it talks about the 7 arets. And at each aret, there is a gate and a watcher. These you will find manifested in our book that deals with the Egyptian adept rite of self-initiation. There are 7 arets dealing with a watcher that is at the gate whose name is mentioned. See, when Musa in the Piscean records laid his body down, there's a time it said that Iblis or Shaitan and an angel wrestled over his body. And the reason he had an angel there present, is because he was pure. He was divinely prepared, or they say duly prepared. But had he been somebody that was dirty in nature, he wouldn't have had that angelic protection, which was really his consciousness, because the angel is a thought manifested in the flesh. So when he ascended, he had protection over his body so that nothing else could inhabit his body while he was on the journey. This is why it's dangerous to just jump out there and think you're going to go into the soul plane and you got a dirty heart and a dirty mind. Mess around and let something come in here that ain't supposed to be here. You see? Because it's things in the afterworld that long, the underworld, so to speak, that long to be on the manifest as you long to go into the realm of the unmanifest and be taught. You see? So we got to be pure. Ain't nothing to play with when we talking this stuff. It said each of the 7 heavens, the prophet accompanied by Jabril encounters a gate and a watcher. At the gate of the lowest heaven, Jabril asks the gatekeeper to open the gate. So the gatekeeper asks, who is it? The sheik say, who goes there? Our grand sheik, Dr. Serapis. He say, it is Jabril, he answered. The gatekeeper says, who is accompanying me? Jabril say, it is Muhammad. The gatekeeper then says, has he been called? Jabril say, yes. The gatekeeper said, he is welcome. A wonderful visit this is. As the prophet and his companion continue to travel upward to the other levels of the heaven, the same questions are asked by the gatekeeper of each heaven, and the same responses are given. At every heaven, the prophet encounters a prophet. 7 heavens and 7 prophets. In the first heaven, he meets Adam, the father of mankind. The prophet greets Adam with the greetings of peace. Delighted to see the greatest of his descendants, Adam replies, welcome, my son. Welcome, O prophet of Allah. Gabriel then takes the prophet up to other heavens, where he encounters Jesus. And Yahya, which is John, the harbinger. In the second heaven, Yusuf, which is Joseph. In the third heaven, Idris, which is Akhnuk, Enoch. In the fourth heaven, Harun. In the fifth heaven, Musa. In the sixth heaven. And finally, Ibrahim, the father of the prophets, in the seventh heaven. In each heaven, Prophet Muhammad greets the prophet residing in it with the greetings of peace. And he is greeted back, welcome, dear brother, or welcome, prophet of Allah. Now watch this. You always hear me talk about this. During this heavenly journey, Prophet Muhammad sees several signs of Allah. He is shown Bayat al-Mahmur. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that there's this place of existence called Bayat al-Mahmur in the most exalted realm when you get into the seventh heaven and it sits above the Kaaba? See, this is why we say when you deal with the Kaaba of Allah and you go back to ancient Kemet and you're dealing with spirit and soul, this is why we're saying it's different than walking around a building 7 times. You got to circumnavigate within the self 7 times. So Bayat al-Mamur, look at the word Bay, El. You got the creator and the governor on the manifest, right? So you have to be able to create and govern yourself. The condition that you create, you're able to govern them when you get into this special realm. Mahmur, powerful. This is the Qibla of the angels. This is the Kaaba that the angels circumnavigate around. Let's go back here to that 7th chakra, that crown chakra. We say an angel is a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh. You see, that's the Qibla. Qibla means direction. So when they told him to face the east in the Grand Quran, they told him basically to turn within, that place which is most nearest and dearest unto you. It's all dealing with the self. The word Kaaba means cube. A cube has to deal with space, room, right? Well, we know room spell more if you turn it around the other way, right? This is science. So nevertheless, Bayat Mamur, this place Muhammad found himself, as we're saying, scenes he was shown, also paradise and hell. In hell, he sees people being tortured for sins and fornication, usury, backbiting, misappropriation of property of orphans. In paradise, the prophet sees people enjoying wondrous rewards promised to them by Allah in recompense for their faith, good deeds. The wonders he sees in paradise go beyond what the eye has ever seen, what the ear has ever heard, and what the mind has ever conceived. Jibril then escorts the prophet to his next destination, through the 7th heaven, to the uppermost boundary. Sidrat al-Muntaha, the lotus tree, and that's referred to in the Grand Quran. That's that lotus, same thing, he's still in the same region. It says, but he has a high elevation of it, whose fruits are as big as jugs, and its leaves as big as elephant ears. Make me think about one of the prophets' hadiths, when he say one day the grapes, were very big until the European got over here. But this is a high measure. It says, he sees 4 rivers flowing out from beneath the tree. 2 visible ones and 2 hidden ones. And the prophet asks, what are these, O Jibril? And he replies, as for the hidden ones, they are the 2 rivers of paradise. The visible ones are the Nile and the Euphrates. Oh my goodness. He showed him Kemet. He showed him his home, Moorish kid. See, the Arabs, they read this stuff, but them Sufi adepts, they was behind a lot of this too. Some of these hadiths, they were translated by mystics. You see, and there's certain hadiths, dealing with the mystic teachings is the way that they could teach it and put it in here, so it would be accepted, halfway, and ones wouldn't be beheaded. You see, even the brother Abu Huraira, which was one of the prophet's closest companions, who was given mostly esoteric knowledge, he said, I was given two types of knowledge. One I have given to you, the other, if I give to you, my throat, my larynx will be cut from here to here. Not because he swore an oath, not because it was wrong to reveal, but he knew he was dealing with some fanatics, some idiots, that if they took it the wrong way, they would kill it. Just like one of the brothers, I want to say Al-Halaj, who said that he was Al-Haq, he was the truth. They killed that particular one. And he was basically in what you call divine romance, you know, with his divinity, saying that I am the truth, I'm one with God. They killed him. The Arabs did. That's a modern situation that took place, you know, a few years ago. So it said, Sadrata Muntaha Jibril asked Muhammad to proceed alone. See, Jibril didn't go with him after this. Think of our 7th adept degree. Safek Pekaru, Propheta. Nobody can give you that. Only Allah can give you that, right? It said, no one from among all Allah's creation has ever gone beyond Sadrat al-Muntaha, for beyond it lies the throne of Allah. Don't you see the throne of Allah in our adept degrees? If you go and open up the PDF or the book, you see this is the throne of Allah Almighty, and even the throne have different levels. You see they got the arsh, the curse, and istawa. You see all these are different levels. Istawa mean Allah himself, he rose above the 7 heavens. After he created them, he rose above it. So if a prophet like Prophet Noble Drew Ali takes the Moors up above the sun, moon, and stars around the almighty throne of Allah in their particular initiation through the 7 adept degree, this is your Hajj. And he gave it to you this way because he was took through 7 degrees. You see? So it say he stands in the present. The prophet proceeds along and reaches the climax of his journey. He stands in the presence of Allah Almighty at a distance of 2 bow lengths away or even closer. You know, so that will stop my portion dealing with that, just showing you. And this is orthodox Islamic hadith right here now. Talking all this esoteric teaching, but if you gave it to him, no, brother, that ain't how it's being demonstrated, you know, and all this other foolishness. You know what I mean? Now here's a measure dealing with the manifest. And we're getting ready to open up the floor. Now this was a time when Muhammad had already established his way of life, you know, and he had become the prophet, he teaching, and this was a hadith dealing with the angel Jibril. He comes to the prophet again. And this was by Umar ibn Khattab, which was one of their respected, you know, sound scholars, they would say. They say, we were sitting with the messenger of Allah, and peace and blessings be upon him. And one day when a man appeared with a very white clothes and very black hair, and there were no signs of travel on him, we did not recognize him. He sat down in front of Prophet Muhammad and rested his knees by his knees. And he placed his hands on his thighs. And the man said, oh, Muhammad, tell me about Islam. They say, what is Islam in certain areas? And then they say, Muhammad, you know, respond, Islam is to testify there is no God but Allah. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, to establish prayer, give charity, fast during the month, to perform pilgrimage, you know, to the house if a way is possible. These are all rites, right? A ceremonies and form. The man said, you have spoken truthfully. It say, we were surprised that he asked them, and he said it was truthful. They was appalled. Who is him telling the prophet that he is the truth? Because, you know, them Arabs would have got up and tried to beat one up when they approached, you know, Muhammad at that time, you know, because they was under so much warfare, you know. So he said, tell me about faith, Iman. The prophet said, faith is to believe in Allah, his angels, his books, his message, the last day, to believe in providence, the providence of Allah. It is it's good and it's evil. And the man said, you have spoken truthfully. Tell me about excellence, which is Ehsan. And the prophet said, excellence is to worship Allah as you see him. For if you do not see him, he surely sees you. Now, people don't know these were 3 degrees of what they call Islam that was spoken of him. In certain hadith, they'll tell you, he say, ask them about Islam. Islam is the 1st degree. Iman is the 2nd degree, which is the faith. And the excellence of worship is Ihsan. 3 I's, Islam, Iman, Ihsan. So people get so caught up on the religious connotation of the word Islam and peace, but they don't know you're supposed to evolve beyond just mere peace into a degree of unfoldment through faith. Then you come from that special level into fruition, which is the worship of Allah as if you see him. And if you can't do that, then you worship him knowing that he sees you. In our case, we call that fruition, where man and Allah becomes one. This is a 3-step ladder, just like our ladder. So these are the same teachings that Muhammad ibn Abdullah was given at a different degree. So it says, the man said to me about the final hour, the prophet said, the one asks does not know more than the one that is asking, because they was asking him about the last day. And Muhammad said, the one that's asking me don't know no more than the one that he asking, so to speak. And then the man said, tell me about its sign. Then it talked about the slave girl would give birth to her mistress. You will see barefoot, naked, and dependent shepherds competing construction of tall buildings. And then when the man returned and I remained, the prophet said to me, "O Umar, do you know who he was?" I said, "Allah and his messenger know best." That's what Umar Kitab stated. And the prophet verified, stated, he said, "Verily, he was Jibril or Gabriel who came to teach you your religion." He came white clad as a man. You see? So what I'm showing you, the same one that took him through these degrees, he was his hierophant. He was the master teacher that raised Muhammad up. Jibril is the hierophant, because he not only dealt with Muhammad, but even when you deal with Yehoshua prior to Muhammad, Jibril was the one to come forth. He even received the title Ruh al-Amin, the trustworthy spirit. You see, all of this, our angel is a thought manifested in the flesh. You see, that's why we have on our quadrant, hear ye cherubim, ye seraphim, ye angels, and ye men. So when you see our chart that deal with Islamism in the first religious creed, we talked about this. We dealing with the loftiest teachings of all of these special measures. Coming from the north, south, east, and west, when you deal with the science here, that's dealing with geometry and everything. You can go into astronomy, astrology, all that, and attach that to this. You're dealing with the cycles, 360 degrees. All of these special teachings that came throughout the cycle age that we are presently in. You see? Gospel, spirituality. You see? Enlightenment. You see? Balance, religion and law. But we have the loftiest of this because we're dealing with Islamism, which is the old time religion, which deals with all of these sciences as they were together before they became separated, before they became chopped up and diced up and just tossed toward the 4 directions, so to speak. You see? Now, for those who don't know, this is the mosque that deals with Al-Aqsa, the same mosque Muhammad is said to have traveled through. But if you notice, you see that this symbol is symbolic, and similar to our chart of Islamism, the layout of it. That's another expression of it. Do you know that there's actually a gate known as the Moor Gate? The Moorish Gate? That's a whole nother measure. There you go. See all these gateways and the mosque and the symbol symbolic to the 7. All these things, when our prophet brought this symbolism, it had meaning, because actually there was a time known as the Golden Age where the sciences flourished under the Moors, where so-called Muslim Jews and Christians and everybody could come together. It was the science of Islamism. So when you go into this special drawing and you see this, the gateways had to do with all of these people that basically took hand in the rebuilding and the peaceful stages. Another stage came on the manifest during the time of the brother Salahuddin of the Ayyubid Sultanate. You see where the Muslim, the Jews, and the Christians came together. Muhammad Ali of the Ottoman Empire, it was demonstrated as well. Egyptian Ottoman Empire. You know, it was a time where there were treaties drawn up and so forth and so on, where the people could live together. So our science has always been one that is inclusive of all when it comes to the unity of the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. But you have to deal with lofty teachings to have a clear conception of this. And you can't deal with it by means of mere religion. So when our Holy Prophet brought us Islamism as our religion, he wasn't just bringing you one particular piece or a portion or a book. He brought you in a nutshell, in a small pamphlet, very mighty and great as it is, the Book of Seven Seals. He brought you the best and the most exalted of all of those quadratic expressions that we just showed you in our chart of Islamism. It's just not dealing with the mere rite, ceremonials, and form or ritual. He brought you the universality of it. So that way you know how to deal with those who are of these different walks of life and perhaps elevate them beyond the exoteric or the outer appearance of what this teaching is. Now, we got this book here by the brother Mustafa Gadala dealing with the Egyptian mystics and the seekers of the way. Listen to what the brother say here. This is why we chose his works, because they're so extensive, but listen to it. It says Egyptian alchemy and Sufism with coherent explanation of fundamentals and practices. It says this book explains how ancient Egypt is the origin of alchemy and present-day Sufism. We talked about that earlier. And how the mystics of Egypt camouflage their practices with a thin layer of Islam. That's Islamism, what he talking about there. He called them the Balati. They had to basically take the teachings, you know, and basically move cautiously because they knew it's heretics, people that would kill you. You see, Sufism is actually what caused the teachings of Islam to even flourish, so to speak. You know, so if you want to study some real adept esoteric science, then study some of that, because that's what the Masons tried to steal. That's what the Prophet brought. I'm just giving you an example. Study some of them tariqats. Not no Masonic order, no Masonic lineage. You see, look in some of that and it'll go and show you and verify what Prophet Noble Drew Ali has taught us. It'll show you everything as far as the science, how to unfold. This is it right here. But that too came from Kemet. So again, they camouflage their practices with a thin layer of Islam. So the Sufis are really Egyptian adepts. You see, the book also explains the progression of the mystical way towards enlightenment with coherent explanation of its fundamental and practices. It shows the correspondence between the ancient Egyptian calendar of events and the cosmic cycles of the universe. We talked about Islamism being astronomy and astrology, right? Now, this was a European depiction here of trying to show you, you know, I guess you can call it the original way of life. And notice the European, this is one of Swinburne Clymer's books, the old religion, the wisdom religion. This is what he had here, right? Notice it says science, philosophy, the logos of the adepts, religion. It's the highest part. He got the Vedas up here in India. He got Brahmanism, Buddhism, the mysteries, Chaldea, Egypt. He got the secret doctrine. Now, this is his own chart. You see, we're not here promoting, we're just showing you that the Europeans, you know, hide truth as well behind their back. Zoroaster, Lotse, Confucius. So far, we see everything that's in our chart. Then they got to add their little Plato in there. You know they do that, which is teaching straight out of Kemet. You got Kabbalah, you got the Kabbalah of the Sufis, Kabbalah, Plato, the Essenes, Judaism, Christianity. Then he threw his little masonry in there because he was part of them orders. But it says the religion of Muhammad. Then you got Christianity, science and religion, church and philosophy, you know, militant, proselytism and the sword. That's how he's seen Islam. You know, well, he didn't know it was a consciousness that was cutting him, not the physical scimitar. You know, then he showed how it evolved all the way into Christianity of the Constantine. Ritualism and sacerdotalism, the sects of Christianity. So he showed you it all came from wisdom, but then showed you that was his breakdown on how everything came on the manifest. And most definitely notice he placed Masonry as a rival to Islamism, or the religion of Muhammad. You see, and they stole everything they have and try to imitate, you know, these tarikats in ancient, in the teachings of Islamism. In fact, when you go into the teachings of Islamism and you look at what the Masons so-called claim to have, every one of their teaching from the shrine to Masonry has some contact with the Sufi adepts in the East. And they took portions and stole it. That's where they come up with the concept of concealing, because there's a practice called taqiyya, where if you're in a hostile environment, then you conceal your faith or whatever. This is the Islamic practice. And that is how the Knights Templars end up getting what they got under the tree. They called it the splitting of the M. They took an oath. Read the book, Born in Blood, or the Second Messiah. You know, and it said that they was persecuted by the church because the church or the Pope believed that they had become turncoats. And they was undercover, and some of them did. The Mamelukes, during that time, they actually did convert to Islam. And then the Pope say, well, they worshiping Baphomet. And that Baphomet is said to be a corruption, a disrespectful corruption of the word Muhammad. So they were saying Baphomet was supposed to be a word that the Templars were using to conceal, you know, the teaching that they done got, basically. And they burned a lot of them at the stake, including their 22nd and last Grand Master, Jacques de Molay. So they persecuted them basically because they were supposed to be Muslim. It was the same Catholic church, you know, the same church that started the Crusades, went in and mercilessly slaved, you know, the Muslims and so forth and so on. It was Salahuddin who conquered them. And that was his only deed and goal. Because once he conquered them, it wasn't days later after he had basically consolidated and got the unity on the manifest that the brother passed for him. That was the only work he was called to do, is unify. Start seeking, mute your phone, family. So it's no strange happening. You got a lot of our people like to talk about Igbo, Ifa, and, you know, all these different, you know, aspects of, you know, tribes and teachings and so forth and so on. You know, so I seen that, you know, when you go into the teachings, you know, of these special ones, the Orisha, you know, there's a lot there that's actually connected to the teachings of our people. I just brought this measure on the manifest to show you how, though something may change and come through a different vehicle, the truth is always there. You look at the word Allah Ta'ala, you hear the Arabs say it, and you go into the connection, you hear people talking about Abatala. It means the white deity of purity. Ain't got nothing to do with no European, right? But notice the crown, you know, of the patriarch is basically that with the scimitar above it. And then you have the crown of the, what they would call a matriarch, you know, would be the star. Together. Now this is in the African teachings. This is their version of it. So Ish and Isha, hence also relates with Ashe and Eshu, the life force of causes. The chairman tell you Ish is the master word. When you go to the 7th adept degree, the word Ish and Isha is present. You see? Moorish, hence the combination of the word Mu, the ancient people of Mu, Lemeru, Mu, and Orisha, Mu, Orisha, Moorish. You see? And that was just a connection. And we seen, the 7 African powers that are mentioned here, right? Well, that's synonymous with the 7 Elohim. We are showing you how many different times the truth comes, but it remains the same just through a different vessel or vehicle. So you got a lot of people that are conflict with each other, in fights with each other, based upon their own lack of knowledge, we'll say, of the universality of teachings and truth. And notice I say a power that exerts itself for the individual at the will of his user. You see? So Moorish kin, this is my special first class dealing with these special drawings on, what is our religion, Islamism? Is that the new or the old time religion? And at this particular time, we just say gratitude, and we're going to open up the floor so that we can hear from Act 1, our Grand National Chairman first and foremost, and then we're going to go to our Grand National Secretary of the State and our Grand Chief, and we're going to get with our Moorish king. Islam. You there, Grand Man?
Islam, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear, Chairman.
Man, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. Let me rise. It's magnanimous. Give all praises to Allah and honor the Prophet Noble Ali for bringing this wisdom to us and performing his duty as a prophet to save us as a nation. With this, then honor to everything Moorish, our flag, our seal, our emblem, our Quran, our divine constitution. And I've got to extend much honor to you, Shaheed, for a magnanimous journey. And I want to encourage everyone that's on the call to, even if you got to listen to the playback, this is what is called Moorish Science. Moorish Science is our way of life. This is what happens when you have purified your way of thinking. You've gotten away from the negative European or Western concept, the slave mentality, and you're now you're now away from mental slavery, and you're into the consciousness of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. You're now a part of your own divine order. That's why the master question, well, who made you? What's your nationality? Ali said, what's his nationality? Then he asked him, well, what's yours? And he began to tell you. So all of this right here, Moorish Science is your way of living love, being love that you live. Moorish Science is, as it was stated earlier, is having the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, but it's also promoting in such a level where that you now has become conscious of deific life. You are God. Once you know that you are God, then you begin to do the things that God do. You are now the creator. And all you really have to do is learn how to govern that which you have already created. Ain't nothing here you ain't put here. So it's a magnanimous journey, that magnanimous job, Shaheed. I want to thank you so much for seeing and hearing and the knowledge, wisdom, understanding through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. This is really Moorish Science at its best. And no matter what comes to you, Moors, all you have to do is remember that you are now the seed that has unfolded from the great God that sent you in the first place, from the great God that made you in the first place. No matter what you have gone through to get here, it doesn't matter about the grades and schools, the fraternal orders, the sorority, it don't matter about none of that. What it took to get you here, the thing about it is, if you was not in the arms of the great creator of love, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't hear this class. We've got adepts here all throughout the whole, I mean, they're everywhere. And I was glad they'd help get the Grand Sheik on the call too, so thank you. But equally as important is to know that what Moorish Science is all about. You will now have your own language, you have your own wisdom, your own course of understanding, and this is the rock on which you build yourself. This belongs to you. It ain't something that you stole, you got to pay back, you got to, no. This is how you unfold yourself through divinity. So I'm here. All you need, man, I'm out here. Thank you, Shay. I like that headdress and that jacket you got on. That sounds nice there.
Islam, grand man. And we appreciate the blessing, grand man. Most definitely, you know, the prophets say imitate him. And most definitely, you definitely been doing it. I tell Moors all the time, you were the one that brought the guard back. Now you got a lot of them that try to, wear it, but we've been often, imitated, never duplicated and never replicated. Islam, gratitude to you, brother, for keeping the doors open, and gratitude for the blessing again in this garb and the headdress. All right. Well, since our Grand National Secretary of the State right there biting at the bit, we know her pen's smoking. Well, let us call forth our Grand National Secretary of the State. You got it, sis. Sister Shepsu, Rakat, Ma'at, and Fu, Tuta coming back.
Praise the Lord. Islam, Moorish kin. First of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days and times, giving honor to the Maryland Consulate for providing the forum for our class this morning. Also to Act One, giving much honor to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and giving honor to you, Dr. Shaheed. This has indeed been a grand journey for self. The subject matter dealing with what is our religion, Islamism. Is that a new or old-time religion? Old-time religion. And much gratitude and honor, because in essence, we recognize the various degrees that our prophet brought to us in reference to the three-step ladder dealing with belief, faith, fruition, and how we are striving to unfold into the consciousness of who we are as gods. I just received so many paradigm shifts in this particular class, especially the word that came to me was unity. You and I, Ta, and going back to our ancient forefathers' state of mind. When I look at the aspect of truth coming in different times through different vehicles, but truth remains the same. And our prophet gave us the essence in reference to one truth does not contradict another truth. So it is up to us in our study, consciousness, and elevation to find that golden cord that links what may appear from the finite or manifest level to be something confused or something in opposition. But when we look at it from the eyes coming on an infinite level, all truth is one. The other aspect in reference to Prophet Noble Drew Ali's name, his holy name, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, coming in many degrees, I have to look at myself and my own journey in reference to the name that I was originally born with has now elevated, I say at least 5 times, dealing with following the path of my husband, our chairman. And every time, he would ask the question in reference to the names that we were given and received. And I'm still learning the attributes of my special name as well. So when I look into the state of unfoldment, or how blessed that I am that Allah is enabling me to be able to see the infiniteness. And I can recall when I was first peeping into the OOPS, that book that was speaking about being careful in reference to, and the chairman gave us this degree in class as well, being careful when you go into a state of meditation or what have you, you've got to have where you're going and the goal of where you're going and be able to come back. And you also spoke on that in reference to if your heart and mind has not been purified, you're subject to bring something back with you, or you might not even make it back in this form. So when the prophet gives us in Acts 7, as Moorish Americans, all Moorish Americans must, this is not a joke, this is not a side issue or whatever, in order for us to properly unfold into the fruition and consciousness of who we are as gods, we have got to purify. And this means no matter what. So when we look at the degrees of self-mastery and returning back to the source, this takes on grander and definitely infinite level of consciousness. And I just wanted to say, taking on the character of Allah, making it plain for those that have eyes to see and ears to hear. So gratitude to you more for this class. It just brings about more research and study, and definitely meditation into who I am as God. So gratitude to all of my Moorish kin, because everybody has a lesson and a blessing, you know, to enhance our state of consciousness. So gratitude more for calling me forth. Peace and love.
And gratitude, God woman, for that drawing and giving us a grand measure. And we know when our Moors bring they homework in next week, goodness gracious, it's gonna be grand. Islam, Grand National Secretary of the State. Well, all right. Well, since we there, and you know the grand man is always on the manifest. See, our sheik is a natural mystic. You know, he's a sage when it comes to putting that wisdom out there. And we want to call forth our national grand sheik, Dr. Serapis Amin Rael, Islam. You there, grand? Islamism, we see you over there, Mo.
I have the kind blessings to be on the manifest on yet another grand occasion. Mo, boy, you and the chairman, I'm kind of jealous. Well, y'all shy. Praise the Lord for you. This is what the one is going to look like in drawing. Well, let's give a lot of praise, though. Because without a lot, we wouldn't be able to see this grand manifestation. And to his love thought of prophet, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, you give the highest honors for setting us all free. Praise the Lord for that. Give honors to our officials and our staff in this government, as well as our Grand Mufti, Assistant Grand Mufti Court, Divine Ministers, student ministers alike, mighty angels, the various stations, the Royal Council, our sympathizers and supporters. Give honors to our flag, what is that? Yeah, the ensigns. But we talk about the other grand demonstration that bring ones on the manifest. We got, we're fortunate, we're speaking because we got, they're not guests. These are two angels, Allah's soldiers, that's moving in the earth land at this particular hour. And I'm going to ask the sister first to come forth and announce herself. Islam.
Islam family, peace and love. I am Dr. Sa Natinu Hetperu El, checking in from the Indiana location. I rise giving highest praises to our Father God Allah and high honors to El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali. Honors to our theocratic Moorish American government. Honors to our Grand National Seal, our Grand National Emblem, our Grand National Flag, and honors to all of my Moorish American family. I am elated to be here. I'm so excited, and I love you all. It's a very powerful demonstration to meet our Grand Sheik in person. Allah has opened up so many doors for me. I would have never imagined that I'll be here right now, but praise him, praise Allah, and I'm glad to see you all. Peace and love, family.
Grand Mufti.
Islam. You know, I'm here on deck. Security. Mufti, we love you. Peace and blessings. Praise Allah. Honor to his prophet. Honor to everything Moorish. Islam. We're going to let the Grand Sheik demonstrate.
With the swiftness, we are reiterating praise and adoration. Sheik, this is a grand demonstration that we followed prior to becoming somewhat conscious of our prophet at that time, the various aspects at which the Prophet Muhammad had traveled. And we know for a fact that at one point, the prophet was in trouble, that he went up there and stayed with our people. He stayed amongst our people, and they protected him. And so you're right. From various ones who sought to do him harm, because he was talking about the same thing Aman talked about. It won a lot, and the ones got caught up and wanted to try to do something to it. But it was with our brothers and sisters. I want to say the Banu tribe of the Cushites, who brought that one out of the desert into them caves, and they dare not go up in there messing with him. So he was protected. What you're giving us is definitely a supreme lesson of one being in this adapt accord at all times, seeing and knowing and doing, especially when you have put around a bunch of Moors, and the gifts of the understanding realize treasures. And he appointed to everyone his measure what seemed good unto himself, bringing us to that appointed stage. We have to have ones that are in succession of the teaching of the love thought. Love does not resonate with no one individual. Love spreads itself about, and see everything in that chain. Remember, she keeps talking about the cords, that golden cord. That's what ties us in with that mighty one. So when you see one more demonstrating a certain thing, if it's in accord with the prophet's demonstration, then that more is in law. We have to watch for and be eyeful of the outlaws. And outlaws are the ones that don't know what the law is, but they lay up in there, and they dress their code like they know. You ride, you see one flying our flag like they know. But when one pull up on them and throw that badge on them, love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, then one won't get spooked up. See, and can't tell the truth because they done shamed themselves. And they shame themselves and the devil too. The devil know they're lying. So this is a grand demonstration that we have before us. And I'm just humbled that the Sheikh has inspired us, continue to inspire us, and to be the messages that we bring. And just keep on, Mo. Roll out. Open up all the, what you call it, the sections. Open them up and let the sin of the peace fall like it's supposed to. Islam? Yeah.
Islamism, Sheikh. Yes, sir. Gratitude, grand man. And honors to the tribe over there at the Royal Council. Islam.
Yeah, we surely glad that the sisters here and the Grand Mufti, I'm seeing him on this vivid occasion, and it's a beautiful demonstration. And they said their humble beginnings to the Grand Council, as well as the what you call that, headquarters, the ones at headquarters who's guiding the way. They call themselves and adapted in the concept or the context of the tribe of endurance. And we give them ones high honors. So them ones are laid a beacon light down the roadway of heaven or the roadway of life. It cannot be duplicated. So we truly, at this hour, give them ones the high honors. Praise Allah. Islam.
Islamism. Yes, sir. And that's a grand drawing. Because coming from the last adept, yeah, we definitely all the extensions of that tribe of endurance. Islam. We give honors to the Moors. Gratitude. Also, we'll get back at the Mufti too to reach out to him on the uniform level, because a lot of the Moors been ordering And we got a guard we want to show to you, Mufti. You're gonna love this. You know, it's very regal. And we'll get at you whenever you had a free time. Islam. Also, speaking of God, we want to show our Moorish kin a reflection, but I want to let it be known that our brother Muhammad Bey and also Larry Bey, they have received most of their items as well. And these top coats that we ordered in Moorish kin for our citizens, and you know, the Swift Angels and all that, these things are fitting these brothers spot on. So whatever your size is in that call, you know, the Sheikh and the chairman got some that's gonna come to them, you know, in very due time. And so when you see these things, Moors, whatever size you is, that's what it is. So you ain't got to worry about tailor, because it's actually a tuxedo top. And I'm gonna give you a grand drawing with it, with our brother Marvin Edwards Bey. You know, this is the one guard that he actually have a white sash, because that's the sash of the Swift Angels and Divine Ministers. But his sash will be white along with, you know, those that demonstrate with the executive rulers. But this is basically the look, you know, and that's most definitely uniformity. You know, we're gonna show our brothers how to tie their waist sash, and it forms a circle 7 when you tie it. You know, basically a symbol, you know, represents the circle and the 7. These are circles around your body. In all actuality, they represent the sash going up, represent the line of divinity, you know. And so also we're gonna show brothers how to wrap their Taj, because he actually had a white Taj on there, symbolic to the crown of the ancient Comedian crown of the ruling of Lower and Upper Kemet. That's what that is called, the Pashent, where you put both of them together. The white crown represented Upper Egypt, and the red crown represented Lower Egypt. So when you add them together, they are known as the Pashent, which symbolizes mastery, you know, in all actuality and unity. So we're gonna show our Moorish kin how to do that as well. And it's a grand draw, and I'm gonna just say that right there. And we look forward to seeing all of our Moorish kin on the manifest in due time. We're gonna get with our sister Giza Maruti Bey, Asherit Giza Maruti Bey as well, and maybe she can get some artwork going once all the Moors take, you know, some solidarity pictures like this right here, and then put them together and put a reflection out there in due time. So I just wanted to give that report. You know, that's going well, and man, that's Moorish as ever. You know, if that ain't the flag. Oh, another thing too, the reason why you see the executive rulers and Swift Angels as white clad as the way they are, because we know our original flag was white clad. But then when you deal with the citizens, you know, who we are defending, then they come forth in the red garb with the green, you know, demonstration. So you see, it's all science in this. One can give a teaching just off of our dress. Islam. All right. Let me stop sharing now. Islam. Let me ask one. Chairman, what you think about that? It remind you of some time, don't it?
Man, you know, I love it when you talk clean to me. Yeah, because you know, I like it because the purity. With the reason why, because the flag original was purity. It was white, and it became red, you know, in defense of the principles. So that's why we're here. But the main thing is to recognize. He asked you what kind of flag is the Moorish. He don't ask you about Morocco. Morocco here the West African slave trade. I wish a monkey or member would. Islam.
Islam, grand man. Islamism, yes, sir. You know, yeah, we definitely see that the Moors gonna learn just by watching our Moorish kid come through. You know, they gonna say, "Mama, I seen a man." Islam, especially when we get that drill team back up and running. Man, please. See, the chairman done did this already. You know, we just coming behind. Islam, gratitude. All right, Moorish Ken, at this particular time, we're going to open the floor up and we're going to actually go to the Baltimore consulate first. And then we'll go from there throughout Moorish America. Islam. And I think Brother Ashby Bay is the one present there. And then Brother Malik, he might be on here, but let me look up here. Okay, yeah, Brother Ashby Bay.
Islam. The Council General Malik Al Bay is on a mission. But first, I want to rise and praise Almighty God Allah. I want to give honor to our holy prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I want to give honor to our Moorish American theocratic government. I want to give honor to our divine constitution of Moorish America. I want to give honor to Act 1 of said constitution. I want to give honor to all the consulates in Moorish America. I want to give honor to this special class that our National Assistant Grand Sheikh is our instructor for. I want to give honor to you, Swift Angel number 4, for the work that you do for your people. I just want to give honor to where honors are due. Give honor to each and every one of you, and just say that this was a, just a packed class with those ancient mysteries that was held back from us, and I just want to give you honor for bringing them forth. And I want to say that, the Assistant Grand Sheikh is not demonstrating these jewels, giving us these jewels just so that we know. He's giving them to us so that we do, and when I say do, I'm talking about this work that we have to do raising this pure and clean nation, because these ancient mysteries belong to the ancient governments that we used to demonstrate and used to be on this earth. And the world is waiting on us to stand up. The world is tired of bombs and guns, as always we hear, and it's nation time, and I just want to give honor for this class, and like we used to hear in the temple, out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. Well, out from all of our classes, this research group, the Zoom classes, the conference calls, the individual consulate meetings, out from those meetings and classes come the guiders of this nation. And, it's an honor to be a part of the Moorish American nation, and it's an honor to be a part of the government. And Moors, as our National Grand Sheikh always says, the time now is for boots on deck and rolling them sleeves up. So with that, I say Islam and peace.
And Islam and peace to you as well, General, Vice Consul General Brother Eric Ashby Bay, Grand Droid, Islam. And also, if you have any Moors that you would like to call forth, you can call them for, General, that may be with you.
Islam, we got our Minister Terrell Freeman there on the manifest.
Islamism. First, I rise and give highest praise to the great God Allah, Father of the universe. Give highest honors to his prophet, our prophet Noble Drew Ali, El-Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. Give highest honors to our Moorish American government, officials and citizens. Act 1, give highest honors to our Moorish flag, seal, our emblem. Give highest honors to our Book of Fire, the Book of Ali, and all the tools and literature that we have to continue to be as Moorish as ever. Praise Allah for this class here. Ooh-wee. It is beyond exciting. It brings about, again, the oneness. We talked a lot about the oneness today, the oneness of Allah. the unity that we can see within the infinite manifestations, especially as demonstrated by our ancient forefathers and foremothers, our ancestors that, again, demonstrated or that manifested as thoughts of Allah and were the science, were the love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice at these different angles of that wonderful circle 7. And to have adept teaching, masterful teachings provided by our Moorish American government from our National Assistant Grand Sheikh to not just bring clarity, but to demonstrate the harmony so that we can continue, or as we continue to understand the science, to be the science and exert this force at the will of the user. And this is how Allah will have it. This is what, again, is a part of our great work. This is a part of David's slaying Goliath, if you will. These, every little bit, every little thing, you know, is absolutely beautiful and definitely wonderful to be a part of, but to really internalize it and to recognize where we are in these cycle ages in this manifestation, ooh-wee, it's just very special. It's very special in it, and with much power comes much responsibility. And so I love my Moorish kin for their levels and demonstrations of responsibility and accountability. I look forward to continue to be with my brothers and sisters, my right and left, all the way around, as we unite our family again, and we knock the dust off of our home, we shore everything up, and we return back to the paradise that we deserve. It takes work, but I feel a little differently about that work when I'm with my Moorish kin. It's what we're here to do. It's a duty. It's an honor. And just praise Allah for you, National Assistant Grand Sheikh, for leading the way with such enthusiasm and such a loving heart and a masterful mind. Because, as was stated before, these are things that can't be duplicated, may be imitated, and we'll take that flattery divinely, but can't be duplicated or replicated. So gratitude, Islam.
Islamism, grand man, for all that you do as well, brother Terrell Freeman L. We give honors to you. Islam.
That's it for the Maryland Consulate, Sheikh.
Islam, grand man. All right. Gratitude to the Baltimore Consulate for doing the work and putting this platform out there, because we have been able to move mountains. You know, we've been able to get more exposure to our Moorish kin, along with the census work that was being done. It's now increasing, you know, 7-fold. So we give honors to you, Moors, as well, for the work you're doing. I told the Moors 2021 is our year and beyond. You see, one's gonna learn about that cycle of that 7. See, this is a whole cycle of 7, a milestone. So it's not strange that we are here at this time. Islam. All right. Well, let me see who I got on my board, because I actually got a different view right now. Okay, yeah. Well, we can call forth our beloved brother Muhammad Bey, if he can come forth. Gerald Muhammad Hamid Muhammad Bey. Are you there, Consul General? Brother Muhammad Bey? Okay, Islam. Well, we know the brother must be about his father's business. Well, at this time, we will call forth, I think our brother Larry Bey might be there. Is brother Larry Bey there? Is he on call?
I think that may be Sister Cammy. I was told by Sister Minister Teresa Reed Bay that Vice Consul Lowry Bay was with Consul General Muhammad Bay.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Islamism. Well, all right. Well, Sister Reed Bay, she's there.
We got and we got the Grand Secretary of State Diane Carter Bay.
Okay, yeah, her and Sister Carter Bay. Well, we'll call Sister Carter Bay first, and then we'll let her call on Sister Islam.
Islam. Diane Carter Bay from the South Carolina Consulate. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act One. I give honors to all my government officials on this line this morning. And I tell you, I am really enjoying these teachings. Gratitude to you, National Assistant Grand Sheik, for taking time out of your schedule to just teach us and to get us prepared. When I attend these classes, and I'm learning now that there's no excuse. You are preparing me to go out, because when I get in these classes and all the grand teachers that's coming forth, and I'm sitting back and I'm learning, I'm doing my research, and I'm unfolding, and I'm seeing where I'm weak at. When I share with my Moorish kin, they come at me, and I see if I can't articulate my answer good, then I know I got to go back and do some more research. And when I get back out there again, you come back at me with that same way. I know how to answer you. I can answer you in a stronger way, and just gratitude. And like the Moorish kin, the God man that said before me, with much power comes responsibility. And see, we are divine ministers, and we got to get out there, and y'all do everything y'all can to make us get us equipped to go do the work. But if you don't come and get in these classes and get the teachings, well, it ain't no more y'all can do. You done your part, and I'm just so grateful and thankful for all that you do. And one other quick thing, and you mentioned about the meditation, and see, I never heard nothing about when you're doing meditation that it's I guess spirits that are out there that can that was a new one for me. I thought you just meditate and everything, but when you mentioned about you have to be careful, that just let me know even more that this journey that I'm on, this is serious business. This is nothing to play with. And so just gratitude. I'm gonna be quiet, and I'm gonna call on my Assistant Grand Secretary of State, Sister Teresa Reed Bay. Are you there? Islam.
Islam, I'm here. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Islam, God is also after the Sister Muhammad Bay does have his hand up.
Islam. That's what I was gonna let the general go ahead. But first giving praise to the great God Allah, give honors to our holy prophet, give honors to our divine constitution and bylaws, give honors to Act One, give honors to this class and all this great wisdom that we are receiving. I just want to say this is just awesome. I don't have words to express how we are growing and learning more and more about our Kemetic roots, and even when he was talking about the Yoruba, I was into Yoruba. I went to a couple of villages and everything. It's just awesome how it ties together. It's all one. It just fortifies what we always thought. But we are one, and we were there in the beginning, and we're gonna be here when it finishes. Gratitude for allowing me to speak. Peace and love.
Islam. Gratitude, goddess and queen, for that message. And also, briefly, for our brother Muhammad Bay come on, Islam, yes, Sister Carter Bay, if you go in our Moorish Holy Quran, when it speaks of the phantom forms that flit before the mind, that's the type of demonstration. It's actually, that's what go on when you get into a meditative form, just keep doing it. And it's gonna come a time, if you're doing it and you're in a quiet place, that something gonna happen. I'm gonna just put it that way. All adepts know exactly what I'm talking about. Brother Torrey Simpson Bay, he got a measure to share with y'all. That one went to chambers recently. We're gonna let him share that with y'all on the plane. Islam. I know I met the chairman. That's a whole nother measure. Islam. I seen the Hereford long before I came into the government. All right, Islam. Well, all right. Let us call forth our brother Muhammad Bey.
Islam, gratitude. Yes, I'm Muhammad Bey, Consul General of South Carolina Consulate, Post Consulate, and praise and honors previously given. First and foremost, I would like to send a very humble apology to our National Grand Secretary of State and any officials that had tried to get onto our first Zoom call this morning. The technical maze that I was going through. We definitely will perfect that. Apologies for that confusion. Islam, yeah, gratitude, magnanimous class, brother, magnanimous class. When we talking about Islam and Islamism, and you talked about the Sibagah, which is really, I'm here with my Vice Consul General, Dr. Leroy Lowry Bay, as you stated. Some of the products came in reference to the uniform. We just got the pants also today. And so, I was discussing with him about that Sibagah, as it says, he who colors himself with the color of Allah. And the understanding that I have about this Sibagah, as you stated, is definitely about love. One can never, it's just virtually impossible for one to color themselves with the color of Allah, or as we would say, truly put their hand in the hand of Allah without love. You have to love Allah, and in order to love Allah, you have to love the truth, you see, and be obedient and steadfast to that truth under all given circumstances. And there come times, it's an unfoldment. It's an unfoldment of sincerity and dedication. Like one of our previous Moors has said, sometimes you get tested to see, okay, well, I say I love Allah. Okay, Allah say, okay, well, look, let me see if you really, really love me. In the Grand Quran, it says he tests you with those things that we say we covet. What might be, your woman, your sister, your brother, your family, whatever it is, that's still there, that has not been put in its proper perspective. So I just wanted to speak on that, and also wanted to speak on this whole thing of Islamism. That is our nature, to be one's natural self, as the Prophet said. He came to teach us to be ourselves, and that's natural. See, we have been living under that illusion, being in the state of Maya, living in what I call environmental processing, whereby they have had us thinking, you understand, that I was Black and I was proud. I was an African American. I was an Afro-American. I was a Pan-African and I was a Black nationalist. You see, all of these things were illusionary states of the mind. And we know as a man, as a man, woman, child, or a woman thinks in their mind, so shall it be. So the whole process is about being one's natural self, in that state of Islam, that state of love, that state of oneness, that state of unity with the great God Allah. And then as we unfold into the fullness of that, wherever we are in our station, in our unfoldment, we must always take it forth and share with our Moorish kin. Islam and gratitude. I just want to share that. If there's any any other of the Moors from the South Carolina Consulate on the call, please come forth with the permission of the grand body. Islam.
Okay, Islam. I guess there's
Islam.
Okay, go ahead, brother Larry Bay.
Now, I was talking with my vice counsel. You don't want to say anything? Yeah, it sounds good. They can hear you.
Oh, yeah, Islam. Dr. U.L. Larry Bay, Vice Counsel again, South Carolina. Rise and praise the great God of Allah. Run to the prophet, give honor to our three most amazing government, give honor to the official of government, and give a special honor to the citizen, and give special honor to you all, and special honor to you, National Sister Grand Chief, putting on another grand demonstration. And you get honors for the wisdom and the research you've done, and man, you know, magnanimous class, man. And definitely, when you get these prophet teaching, you know, you definitely can see elevate the teaching. You can see clearly those other schools of thought, you know, that came forth, you know, from our Semitic teaching, you know. So, you know, grand demonstration, man. That's all I can say. And definitely, we, you know, more to be back next week, you know, with the homework, you know, for another, you know, no grand, go for. Man. Hey, Islam, boy, man, we love you, man. That's all I can say, brother. You know, you got me, hey, brother, you got me hyped, man. You know, I was ready to do research, man, while you still talking, man. You know, Islam, boy.
Islamism to both of you generals. I'm gonna tell y'all something about our brother Larry Bay. You know, that brother there is a mastermind, you know. Everything that he records, he recording it up here, you know, and it's just a blessing, you know, that this brother is able to give it back to you like that. He just goes to show you how powerful the mind is. And it actually shows us if we stop looking with the physical eyes and listening with the physical ears, so much so to where we can actually hear more and see more at a greater degree. You know, that's what we learned from our brother being the mastermind he is. And before we go on, I just want to make a brief screen share here because we've been talking about, you know, the degrees. And I actually have, you know, my physical copy, what I have here that I had printed out for myself a little while back. But dealing with these degrees, because we heard our brother Muhammad Bey speaking on certain measures of testing. We know Muhammad ibn Abdullah had to have his heart washed before the adept could take him through that journey. But if you notice here, in the Egyptian adept ladder of initiation degrees, the ancient Chumerian order of the pyramid rite of the mysteries of Al-Sa and Al-Set, we see that the aspirant in the first stage, you know, this is the neophyte for admission. This earth, you know, element has to do with what one is being tested with, materialism. You know, those things that one see, those things that we hold dear. So this particular 0.0, the aspirant unfoldment, being a neophyte for admission, they undergo what we call preparation. And this is the purification of the body and development of control over control of the physical appetites. You know, preliminary testing that deals with emotional response, intelligence, willpower, and obedience. So before we can begin to ascend through all of these other degrees of unfoldment, we have to become masters. On the emotional level, we have to become masters in our emotional response, in other words, our intelligence and our willpower and obedience. Remember, the power exerts itself for the individual at the will of the user. So our will must be one with the deific will, and the only way that can be done is after a purification process. You see, through rite ceremonies and form, rite symbolic that has become a living actualization. So just going through briefly all of these different degrees, as we styled them in the form, we talked about the Black Fez degrees, and the reason we talk about that, because you're coming up out of a state of darkness into the light, so to speak, right? You know, and these are the degrees that the chairman brought us right there in Exhuming of a Nation. And the breakdown on these degrees, you know, are out there. You know, it was out there and the Europeans had basically abandoned them. They stole them and they created the 96 Rite of Memphis from these degrees and destroyed the, you know how you take some and throw the rest away. And these particular degrees secretly, you know, they come from Kemet and nobody ever claimed them as far as dealing with authorship. No one man has ever claimed these 7 degrees in authorship, but many men have taken them as a basis and foundation and then went and created their own measures after that. So when you come out of these measures, you unfold, there's a master word in each stage of unfoldment. These words can be used to open up the chamber of the self. You see, the Amun, the Om, Hu, He, U, Ihu, Heru, Ami, Abu, you know, these are, we can say check words, so to speak, where one can actually open the chambers of the self. Also, you go from the Black Fez degree. Notice you move from apprentice, you know, neophyte to craftsman, disciple to master initiate through these first degrees. You see? Now, when you go into the Red Fez degrees, which is the Queen's Chamber, the first one was the Grotto, you come through, you know, also another stage of unfoldment, but at a second level, so to speak. You see, this ain't nothing but a 3-step ladder by way of the 7. You see, we know 7 and 3 is 21 when you go into multiplication, right? So the Red Fez degrees, you know, have to deal with the ancient builder, adept, the philosopher and master, and the seer and priest. And there are words here as well where it deals with unfoldment. Now, if you notice, in each stage, you come from initiation, transmutation, exhumation, resurrection. Our class last night touched somewhat on these measures. Then you come into ascension and unification, which we talked about unity earlier. Notice that when you get to a level of unification, just as Muhammad went through his 7 degrees, the prophet went through his and he brought them back for us to go through. You know, notice you see the master word here, Tehuri, but then you come in the 7th degree, the White Fez degree, the King's Chamber, where the capstone actually resides. You know, only the great God can give you the degree to unfold it. And now you're dealing with the ether. You see, Safek Nu Pekaru. And we told you that if you go into Piscean records, it's key that Moors notice Yusuf or Joseph was given the name Zephaniah Paneth. That's really a corruption of this high name. Zephaniah Paneth means hierophant. Sefek Nu Pekheru or Sephanet Penka, which is hierophant, goes into propheta. You see, illuminated one. You see, this is the enthronement. Man who knows the mysteries, full illumination and unification with the divinity. And a lot of these commentaries here come right out of what the chairman taught us. He said our burial is really the entombment of the original White Fez, of the Moorish Egyptian adepts being changed to red, then finally the Black Fez worn to this day. The pure meaning of the White Fez is God, but when purity is slowed down by the rate of the atmosphere, it becomes cool to red. But black is a word and not a color, and the word means death. The Turks don the Black Fez because it means they are the chief morticians of the African god man, whose code name is infidel, heathen, MBC, or Hiram Abif, which really come from Heru Ami Abu. Through Western Freemasonry, some Moorish in the West have been marked with the Black Fez to denote their continued enslavement. You see, so the first degrees bring us out of that type of enslavement, which is mostly attached to our emotions. And that's why in these degrees, you're dealing with the development and mastery of the emotions, development, understanding, and mastery of the thoughts, and you're dealing with the development, part self-mastery of the willpower, and the ability to act in service in any conditions of life, experience of humility, death in the underworld. Meaning you got to act a certain way when you undergo certain things that happen. You know, they can't move you or shake you. So I just wanted to give our Moorish kin that drawing briefly, you know, when it comes to these degrees, Islam and self-mastery. Islam. Okay, pardon self more, your phone muted. Unmuted. So Islam, yeah, I have like I say, every time you put white up here, notice it put me in a spirit state. You know, but yeah, I also want to show our Moorish kin anything we print, if you can get it real quick. This is a 7 seal publication, you know, measure that we had created. It's kind of going in and out. I'm gonna hold it at an angle. I think I might be. Well, you can't see it right now yet, but nevertheless, the 7 seal publication, we put that on the back of all our stuff, let you know it's coming from Act 1. And we set it out there before. Actually, we can show you here as well before we, let me show it to you. It should be in here. Well, nevertheless, we'll come back to it later. But it's a seal, and we signed it to Act 1. So gratitude, Moors, and we'll call forth this time because we don't want to tear it too long. We'll call forth our beloved brother Marvin Epplesby of the Texas Consulate, Consul General, Islam.
Islam. Gratitude, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Gratitude, God, man. Okay, yeah, this is Dr. Epplesby, Consul General of the Texas Consulate, rising, giving all praise to the great God Allah, giving highest honors to his prophet, our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, giving honors to our theocratic government, our Moorish American government, giving high honors to our Act 1. I give high honors to all of our officials. I give high honors to this class, our research team class, as well as I give honor to all those that aided in bringing forth our class tonight. Pardon self. A very powerful class. Yeah, as you were giving your demonstration, you know, I was going through those degrees as you went through them, and you were talking about those 7, you know, heavens, you know, are very, very powerful. And yeah, this is enough to really, really go and research. And that was a question of mine of what and how to research certain things, because we know that Europeans have so much out there, they've stolen so much that they can confuse someone that, you know, don't have the background, say yourself or Act 1. You know what I mean? That's why I'm so grateful for being in our Moorish American government, because we have the guidance today to get to know who we truly are, you know, who our ancestors truly were and who we truly are and becoming, you know, and I'm just so grateful. I won't elaborate too much, but I got a grand drawing on everything that you brought forth and the more that brought forth their demonstration. So this is the work, and I'm so grateful for being here. Gratitude for allowing me to speak. Islam and peace.
And gratitude, grand man, for your measure as well. And help is definitely on the way. We've seen, think at least one citizen, you know, potential unfoldment registry that has come forth, you know, out your area. It might be 2 if I ain't mistaken, but, you know, that'll be definitely forwarded to you in due time. You know, just stay in contact and keep doing the work, grand man. And we give honors to you for that grand reflection as well in donning our uniform, brother Marvin Epplesby. You wear it well, brother. Islam. Gratitude, Islam and peace. But let us call forth our grand man, Jehudi Bey. We got a Jehudi here too. Islam, because he represents the North Carolina Consulate. Special Agent Mufti. Islam, grand man.
Islam, Islam. Islam, Assistant Grand Sheikh. First of all, let me rise and give all praise to mighty God Allah. Give honors to a holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Give honors to a Moorish American government, Act 1 officials and citizens. Let me give honors to our flag, our seal, our emblem, And we give honors to you, National Assistant Grand Sheik, for this grand class. And also let me give honors to the Maryland Consulate for hosting this grand class. You as always, you just, I mean, you grab my attention and you don't let go. And I give honors to you for that, because I've never been in a school of learning where I had a professor or a teacher grab my attention as you do. And that goes with high honors, because I love listening to you. I love learning from you. And when you talk about Islam and Islamism, it's just, everything that you mentioned, like the grand chairman said, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it again, because you dropped some very, very beautiful jewels along the way. I give honors to you for that, grand man. I'm gonna keep it brief because I have a class to go start up at 2 o'clock. Our general is on a mission with his children. And by the way, I am assistant the Vice Consul General of North Carolina, pardon self, Akuhu Jahudi Bey. So I just want to, we've been through so much as people. Knowing where we come from is very important. It takes those blinders off when we dive into the reality and the truth of who we are. And you've given us something where we can, it's like a roadmap, from the beginning to where we are in the present. And when you talk about, I wanted to ask one question. I think you mentioned about the Sabah, and I think you said that they were people related to the Cushites. If I got that, if I asked that right, is that what you said? And if so, like I said, I'm gonna go back and listen again. So I'm gonna get everything right, and next week I'll be able to demonstrate a little bit more. So I give honors to each and every one of you, and I must say, I have to say this. I have to say this, Brother Edwards Bey and Brother Batty Bey. I hope I pronounced that right. You two brothers look like twins. I mean, that golden cord of love. You two look like twins, and I give honors to you, Islam family, peace and love.
Islam, yes sir. Them brothers, they'll come from that Mansa Musa bloodline. Islamism, gratitude, man. Gratitude, God, man. And that's a drawing. But yeah, in the lights of your question too, grand man, just briefly, as we go along, we had put this out there. No, there you go, right there. That's the 7 seal publication measure there. But we had put this out there not long ago in some of our other classes when we was talking about, Noah, which is Menachem, and we went into Ham being, the seed of Noah, but Ham fathered 4 sons, unbeknownst to many of our people. Ooh, that blowed up pretty big, didn't it? That's too big. Okay, so from these 4 sons, you had Cush, Mesra, Put, and Canaan. Most of your Moorish root is from the Mari, which were the Inumitic, and the Mu'aba, which is the Amori or Amuru. These are the ones that end up inhabiting Libya, you see, and went over across the north coast of Africa all the way into the west coast. These are the ones that settled on the Nile Valley, Cush and Mesra. So when you talk about the Sabah, these are the Seba Moors. See, these are, notice when Jibril took Muhammad up to the heights of heaven, he showed him two rivers. He showed him the Euphrates and the Nile, you know, because he was indigenous to that special area. So when you talk about the Sabah, which are the Cushite Moors, the Meru or Meroi, then you also know of the Mar and the Mera, which is the Hikapta Moors, you know, which is what a word, you know, Egyptian actually come from, Hikapta. Also the word Coptic derived, that's the later form of the language when it developed. So, you know, this is basically the Seba Moors or the Sabah. That was the great civilization that the Grand Quran talk about. But the Arabs ain't gonna teach you like that, because they got some teachings of slavery that they holding on to when it come to our people. You got to remember, they first muezzin, Bilal, was actually a Cushite, which means he came from the line of the Sabah, you know. So even one time when the Adhan was called by somebody other than him, Allah told him that he didn't accept the prayer, basically, because the prayer wasn't called. And an Arab had called it. So they say, no, oh, he meant because Bilal didn't call it. Islam, grand man, gratitude for that measure. So we are held high in regard than we know. All right, Islam. Well, let us call forth our beloved brother, Torrey Simpson, Bay, so he can give us a grand draw. Islam, grand man.
Islam.
Get him Moors a drawing on that initiation. Islam.
Islam. Can you hear me, Moorish? Can you hear me, grand man?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
All right. Yes, indeed. You know, I have to always give rise and praise to our Father God Allah, honors to our Holy Prophet, and honors to our Moorish American government, honors to the tribe of endurance, everything that is Moorish, everything that our Prophet, Noble Ali, you know, brought to save us as a nation and people, and I'm very honored to be a part of it. So, you know, like I said, it was actually last week. I was in actually Amarillo, Texas, and I kicked back for a minute to you know, catch some rest before I continue my journey. And at that special time, as I went to sleep, as I went back to rest, you know, it was not long before I was in my truck. I was actually in the truck, and it was, you know, of course, it was some cats. It was like 3 or 4. It was like 3 cats in the truck. So, but there was a kitten. However, there was another cat. So there was one of the cats, you know, started to actually get a little angry at me and started to bite on my leg, getting my attention. So I opened up the truck. So at that time in my dream, in my vision, I opened up the truck door, and then the kitten hopped in, was not damaged anything. So I'm like, so automatically I'm like, it has my attention. So I'm very conscious about my surroundings, what's going on. So as the kitten come into the truck, and the other cat was still pulling at my pants leg, and at that time when it bit me, it took me to another. I went into another scenario while I was in construction. I was in a construction area, and there was metal beams falling everywhere. It was some truck trailers that the brake had come, that the emergency brake come apart. Truck, and so trailers start coming down, but I'm being moved through all this commotion. So finally, I moved to a certain area, and a piece of metal had hit me on my right shoulder. And as it hit me on my right shoulder, the scenario shifted me to, I was in my car. I was in the car, and I was laying back, and then I heard somebody looking for me. And so I assumed that whoever was on the premises, they knew of me, and they said, "Oh, he's over here in the car." And so as the two, you know, silhouettes begin to walk up, I heard my name. Yeah, look for Brother Simpson Bay. And so I was like, "Hey, that's me," you know. So I was like, "Who looking for me? You know, who looking for me right now?" So at that time, the two men appeared up, and he said, "There he goes." So it was actually our assistant national grand sheik, Dr. Shadow Amenti. So I'm like, hey, what's going on? What you need, man? You know, hey, you in the area? So I got out of the car, greeted him. And at that time, when I greeted him, you know, he said, so Dr. Shah, he was about maybe 6 feet, you know, in his dream, he was like 6 feet. So he was speaking to me, and I'm like, I can't hear you. Say what? You know, it's what you say. So then he said, oh, you can't hear me? And so Dr. Shah, he said, well, feel the grip. So when he gripped me at that time, he said he gripped me and he walked away. But when he walked away, I still felt his hand, you know, and the hands just was taking me. It took me actually, oh, wow. Praise Allah for that understanding. I went to the left. So we already know to the left is going east. All right. So when I went to the left, the hand clasp of unity was still on my right hand. And at that time, I seen 2 men come forward. So as the 2 men come forward, you know, they had a type of a garb on that was an ancestral garb that had mask on and everything. So when they started coming up, one of the ancestors started to dance around me, started to do a dance, you know, like we would call it, where I'm from in Memphis, we call it gangster walking. You know what I mean? Like he started gangster walking, and I'm like, okay. I said, I said, man, let me settle in. So as he went around me as a 360, I mean, he getting it too. He forming angles, and I mean, he coming with it. So as he come around, circumscribe me. Of course, I was following him, you know, as he come around, and my hand is still out with his hand clasp for unity now. And then at that time, the other ancestor, you know, the ancestor come up. And when they come up, then basically from behind them, ancestors started to come up, and there was one had a mask it was a moon, and the other one was the sun, and then there was other ancestors coming around me, and everybody was just, all the ancestors were in glee. They were happy, you know. They were like they were pointing at me. There he go. So at that time, the two ancestors that came up on me at that time, they actually began to, they grabbed my hand, they grabbed my arms and began to lower me down. So as they lowered me down, I felt something warm in my middle of my chest, like it was wood, but it was warm. And as they went to take me down, I could feel the heat from the dirt. I could feel the heat from the dirt actually on my back. When they laid me into the dirt, when they laid me on, it seemed like it was a bed of coals, but it was covered in dirt, and I can feel it. And at that time, when that happened, I could feel that, they began to push dirt over me. And then at that time, they raised me back up. So when they raised me back up, they said, now go forward. So as they pushed me forward, I mean, the ancestors was happy. And then when they said go forward, it was like, when they say go forward, they hit me on my chest. And I woke up. I come out of the vision. And at that time that came about, it seems like just a lot of pathways of understanding and knowledge, you know, began to constantly unfold as I continue to be about, you know, my father's work and to really go within. So, you know, to go through the preparation stage. So I immediately came to the initiation degrees, and I went through, I read through them, and I've been studying them. So I've been, this voice, you know, actually the hero fans say, keep going within. And so, you know, as, you know, last night's class, you know, Moorish perspective, and I, you know, Moorish can, you know, as far as when it comes to the initiation, the transmutation, exhumanation, I went through that. And last night, I spoke, actually my measure last night was giving my Moorish King my resurrection. And I actually spoke my degree out last night. And I mean, that's just the way it is. I spoke it out last night and what I'm invested into. You know, I'm invested and the powers and the attributes of an adept. I am empowered to understand that my Prophet Noble Drew Ali, has given me the guidance of our Father God Allah to continue to climb, and continue to reach out to Moorish kin at the same time, give out to my Moorish kin at the same time. I have to also come to the sacred grove of Elihu every night and also gain these teachings. And you might be teaching, like I said, Moorish perspective, but at the same time, I might go to my mind has guided me to go into when it comes to the cervical, the first seven vertebrae. You see what I'm saying? And then talking about that gray matter, well, it's called the atlas. And you see the atlas and the axis, but your first 7 vertebrae is 7. And at the top of that vertebrae, you have the atlas. And then you have the axis, which you rotate. Isn't that not the globe, the earth on this axis? You see, so when we talk about go within, it's a grand measure. And all of us have our own measure that Allah has given us. And all I say is embrace it. You may think it sounds crazy, but embrace who you are. Embrace, embrace, embrace. And that was my biggest prayer. I say, once again, my biggest prayer was to actually be able to talk to the ancestors. And it came to me without, just like that. And I wanted to always make history, real history, when it comes to my people. So I want to thank Allah. I want to thank my ancestors for me being a manifestation of their prayers. And I thank the tribe for, for being that Swift Angel #1. Islam, Islam, Islam. Long live Moorish America. Mag's magnificent. Islam.
Islamism, grand man, for that grand drawing, because also you got some Moors also manifesting down there in your area too, grand man. And that information will be delivered to you. And it ain't strange. I know my God woman spoke to me before I came in the meeting, talking about she went in the chamber. That's what she told me. I went in the chamber this morning, right? Because she seen the prophet one time. And I was like, man, I'd love to have that vision. She was all up in the original temple, and he was guiding her. But this particular situation, she say she seen a cat. And she said she was in the grotto, basically. And she said that when it ended, long story short, that she understood that the cats, and the brother spoke of the cat, she understood that these cats were really symbolic to a higher life form, that was beyond the animalistic stage. So when he say one was pulling at, his leg and so forth and so on, and then he was guided to this special experience, this is how they mostly happen, just like this.
I'm gonna use
that in which you can relate to. So, it ain't strange. He got a portion of it. And Starsik, your phone, I think that might be our sheep. His line might be open. But when you deal with it, you receive these experiences in this way. That's the type of stuff that happens, Sister Carter Bay. And a lot of time it happens when you ain't trying. It just happens, like when I seen my chairman. Prior to seeing the chairman on the plane of soul, I was in the presence of the Hierophant. You see, I went through, the chamber, the Lord, or as you call it, fought, wrestled with a beast, literally. And, in that time, I was Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And every time I would say that entity that was trying to overtake me would get tired. And then, then it'll come again. I say, Allahu Akbar, God is the greatest. And I don't know why, but even in this state, that's what I'm always saying. When I'm in that realm and something come, I always say God is the greatest. You see what I'm saying? And it always thwart. I've been in a situation when I was in the Disma Crypts and they had me in solitary. I was studying the history of the Moabites, tracing the lineage all the way from the line of Joseph through Manasseh all the way down. And I began to have various different experiences in there. But one entity tried to come through the threshold of my door. I couldn't see it or nothing, like visually, so to speak. But this demonstration, knowing that it was present, the energy was dismantled. It couldn't even cross through the threshold, Moorish King. You know, I seen a situation where I was driving a car and somebody was finna run straight at me. And that whole demonstration gets shifted as if it was moved. You see what I'm saying? You know, and other things along the way. And this wasn't no spookism. This is, you know, letting me know that divine protection is on the manifest, you see? And so when I went through that journey at the time, I found it out, you know, in the recent years that I was standing on the potter's wheel at the time, because it was Kunam that was there. I would always say a white, beautiful ram with gold, and, you know, he was sitting on the throne and they was fanning him with, you know, date palm branches. That's what I was seeing. And it's like 4K Ultra, 3D, if you want to call it. I was there in Kemet. It was thriving, beautiful. And then when I came to the government, you know, I seen the chairman, and I always said our national mufti, you know, the Egyptian adept, you know, who created the Kemetic, I want to say, Healing Institute. You know, I seen him and our chairman doing the same thing that, you know, the adept in Kemet was demonstrating. Because Kunam was doing like this. He was doing like that. But when I seen the chairman, that's what the chairman was doing. You know, and then next thing you know, right after that, right there, that's when he called me, Moore, you want to teach the Moorish perspective? I see you, come up out of there. You like to teach, huh? Yeah, we got something for you. Uh-huh. Yeah, so Islam, but nevertheless, I'm telling you, Moors, that's a real demonstration. It ain't no spookism. You know, it's all up here. You know, so Islam, that's where we cultivate the saving power at. Well, all right. Well, let us call forth then to the floor our beloved brother, Partabay, Louis Partabay, Islam. And we're going to close out at 2:30, but we'll be able to get all the Moors that's here in here.
Islam.
Islamism, grand man.
Man, you looking grand. Look at the God, man, with them garbs on.
Islam.
And that's, hey, yo, that's how we supposed to roll. And that's why the prophet, you know, he was in India, just like Yehoshua was in India, spreading the word. First, I want to rise and give the highest of honors and prayers to the great God Allah, the great Father God Allah lives, and I give honors to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Egyptian adept. I want to give honors to Act One, and I want to give honors to our Moorish citizens as well. Man, this is a grand demonstration. And one thing that I like that you do, beloved, is that one research class, it has correlation with the next one. You build on where it all makes sense. Like when you was, you know, when you started out with First Man and Adam Kahneman. And you know, when you was breaking all that information down with Kahneman and them, you going universally, bringing it back into a circle where it's seen from all perspectives, but it comes back to the original. And I love how you do that. And you get, you know, you give a demonstration where, like I said, you start here, you go here, you get everything covered. So there's no doubt of contradiction in it at all. But what you brought up here with the little research I did, because you always come with some matches. The Sultanate and what I see when it comes, you know, with a little bit what I see where it comes up with the little information that I have, you know, researched on it. I noticed it was our people over in India, Delhi and Bengal, and the Habashi. I'm pretty sure you hit on it. Habashi it means an inhabitant of Abyssinia, which is what would be called Ethiopia. And we talking about the demarcation line. You bring that up, but it was this was a time where we ruled from the 12th century to the 16th century. You have various ones of us that were ruling over in India, Delhi and Bengal. You know, from some of the research that I've seen, because you know we've been all over the place, all over the planet doing it all. But it's just, you know, bringing it back home, and you know, and it's all Moorish. You know, every time you do a demonstration, it always keeps going back to Kemet. it always goes back to that. That's where it's at. It always goes back home. And then it made me think about the book of Ali. All that information that's in there, that's all a correlation to which, where you at now with. So, that's all I wanted to say. And thank you for letting me do my little demonstration.
Gratitude, Brother Paul Bay. We give honors to you as well for being on the manifest. And yes, sir, like you say, the Habesha, that's another name that later came on the manifest referring to the Sabah, or the Abyssinians, the people of Sabah, Cushites. And as you spoke of, when you go into India, they were known as the Indus Kushite Valley civilization. So if you go into their teaching, you'll hear about Mount Meru, and they took that tradition from the Cushites in East Africa, which was dealing with Meru, which we showed you in the chart. And yeah, all of our lessons have a golden cord in them. And this is what we do. You're gonna pick up flashes of the light of what we done dealt with, and that's how we build, where you can come right back to the same measure. And that's what it's called, the hammer of repetition, basically, because that makes the truth a part of every part. Islam, grand man. But let us call forth our beloved brother, Bati Bey. Islam, grand man. Tara. Islam.
You remember that call I had to you about that when they was me out, Egyptian figurine, a little small. I told you it looked like Bess, the Egyptian guy.
Okay, say that again, grand man. You had chopped up for a moment. Go.
So you remember that call I was telling you about where where they was ushering me out, and then it seemed like a group of them, they ran and they smacked against the wall and they fell down. It was the Egyptian figurine. And I was so all the Moors that had they chambers, and it's just weird that it's that you divinity, what I'm saying, that golden cord right there. So what I was going into on these lessons, looked at the numbers, because numbers, they all play a key figure in the give us a deeper meaning too when we're looking at things. And it's the 1 and the 7. 17 says, what is our religion to us? So going into the Metaneta, it says 1 was the God or man, the likeness of God, the manifestation itself. And then the 7 is the assisted by the designer or the imagery, the celestial. And it says that number combined is the 8, which is the technician. Partnered by that, the 7, the celestial workers, which will shape, so to speak. And we're talking about shaping us in this era day, in this new era and time, and our religion. And so that manifestation of the Islamism within yourself manifests that God. And if we look at the lies and what the prophet and what, all the teachings that the Moors are building up between Act 1 and coming forth now are that information to be the technician on this plane to bring our people into this new era and time underneath this underneath our theocratic government, so to speak, for the as far as what is our religion. And then if we go into the 18, it says it's a new as that old time religion. Again, you got the 1, which is that manifesting itself and assisted by the technician and celestial workers. Then you have the 8, which again, technician, and then combine that, the 9, which is the re-entry through the divine womb, which can be classified as your divine thought, divine mind, and divine consciousness. So if we're looking at it, re-entry, it is Islamism is our re-entry to our God state and allows us to be back a part of that human family. And with that, that's really all I have for that measure. And more will come next week. Islam.
In Islamism, we give honors to you, brother, because the same drawing that you gave, and we know that's the Metaneta, when you go into the book of Mustafa Gadala and you deal with the number 1, it deals with the all that is one, just like you spoke of, but then it goes into that the drawing on the 7, you know, as dealing with the measure of the separation process, so to speak. You know, dividing divine constituents, you know, being separated into functions, you know, like your orderly manifestation periods, you know, the different stages coming out of the 3 stages of unfoldment. But then when you add that 7 and that 1 and you go to 8, you know, the 8 deal with the alphabet, which is the letter H. And that special letter has to do with the above and the below and how they work together. Like divine government, same measure you demonstrate. There's no one truth contradicts another truth. You know what I mean? And that's just a powerful measure. You know, I remember the brother Rakim came out with the last album, I think it was, he wrote the 18th letter. And he was dealing with the letter R, one of the most greatest albums I done heard, you know, because he was dropping plenty of science in it. But, you know, all of that goes back to the light of the divinity of oneself, Ra. You see? So I just wanted to add a little support there. But brother, yeah, I remember you telling me about, you know, these different things that were moving through the earth land and how one ran into the wall. Yeah, you was telling me about that, right? Man, that's a grand drawing. Well, all right. Wow. See, all the Moors is, man, they waking up. They coming with their eye wide open. Well, let us call forth at this time our brother Rayleigh Bay, and we're going to get to our brother Miller Bay and Love Divine, and we're going to take it on out. Islam. All right, brother Rayleigh Bay, Rael Bay, pardon self. Are you there, Constant General? Well, Islam, we know the brother is about the business of our Father God Allah. What about our brother Swift Angel 151? He was on here earlier. There you go. Pardon self, brother. I was supposed to be calling you first. I didn't see it because you wasn't there. I see your name though. Islam, Grand Man.
Islam.
Let me open this view up. Okay, go ahead, Grand Man.
Let me rise in perfect praise, give all praise, honor, and glory to our Father God Allah, our illustrious Prophet Al Sharif Abdul Ali. Give honors to Act 1, our flag, ensigns, emblems, Swift Angels, Mufti Core, and everything that is Moorish. Also honors to all the messages that was given today, and honors to the lesson that was given on what is our religion. And you know, when you first began the class, it was a word that you had used. I think it was it might have been an Arabic word for ism. And I was wanting to know how do you say it and spell that word exactly?
Islam. You will see Isma in certain cases and Asma. You know, and in most cases you'll find that it's connected to the divine attributes that deal with the nature of the divinity of God. And so I always go to that special word rather than using the common term ism as the English use it. And when you connect that to Islam, then you get the nature of peace. You see, as we unfold through the divine attributes. You see what I'm saying? Islamism.
Islam. And that was something that I seen, you know, that stuck out real to me, because this Isma and Asma, you know, that's to take one into a state of being. So I was looking at Islamism, with Islam being you know, the study of peace, a religion of peace. That means that that's a study or a being of peace in all areas of life, you know, from the stuff that we eat to how we treat nature, you know, to how we treat one another, you know, even how we talk to ourselves, you know. And I'm seeing that in our religion, what is our religion, Islamism, this religion, this peace that we studying, you know, so we can be that peace, is it's a universal science. It also, you got to take into consideration too the different foods that have effects on the body, you know, the thought processes, as well as the words and your actions, you know, towards you know, your fellow man and woman. And I seen that, you know, that was just something that stuck out to me. and then the Sabagata is the dye, color, baptize, or the immerse. That's pretty much, I'm gonna say, taking upon a holistic approach to life and understanding that there is no portion of Islam that is separate from a Muslim's life, you know, because it's like if you're gonna take upon the state of being peace, then that means that you know, the current condition or the current state that one is in, being a Negro, colored, or Black, that's not peace. You know, that means dead. You know, so I seen, you know, that was something that I seen. But also I wanted to mention a tomb and the Sebi God tomb, and that's the died religion, the nature, the attribute. But I did want to, I was looking at, you know, that atune, and I seen that it was that disc, and that disc had hands extended out. And so with that disc, or I see the disc as being the source, the oneness from which everything comes. With those hands reaching out, right? I say, you know, hand is symbolic of the mind. So, you know, these are different thought patterns, you know, different thought patterns that ones have. Or I'm gonna say not even different thought patterns, I'm gonna say different sacred schools of thought that are a part of life, that in our religious in our Islamism, in our circle is divided into 4 quadrants. And those 4 sacred schools of thought, right, go back to a tomb, because it's these rays, or this enlightenment, this knowledge that goes out, that correspond with, you know, law, our life, our health, our religion, you know, even on how we move. Because even in when we look at the martial arts, that's a part of our Islamism. That takes into consideration on how we move, keeping a balance in, you know, how we move throughout the earth, you know, what we indulge in, you know, be it physically or mentally. You know, those are just some of the things that I thought. I seen that, you know, with our religion being Islamism, I just seen that it's the uniting of all of the sacred schools, and there is no demarcation or no separation, but it's all one holistic system that the Moors, you know, I'm gonna say that we give grace, you know, to humanity, you know. And then you had mentioned about the Seba, meaning 7, and then the with our garbs, us wrapping ourselves in the 7. To me, that's girding our mind. That's it's a physical representation of us standing upon the 7 and exercising the 7 postulates, you know, so that we might be the message that we bring. And, you know, those are just some of the things that I'm most definitely go back, because you mentioned about the Sabiun Unafa. I gotta look into that, because that was a caravan. That was a caravan that traveled with Muhammad, and then those were some of the I'm gonna say the teachers that brought that wealth of information and knowledge, and I'm gonna say the true religion unto him. Then that is I know it's some jewels in there, so one just have to dig. Gratitude for allowing me to share my measure. Peace and love, family.
And gratitude and peace and love to you as well, Grand Man. We look forward to the research. We know our Moorish King got some drawings for us. And yeah, that sun disk, that ancient disk, with them rays, that represent the different truths that come forth to our people. You know, and we give honors to you. And going to get ready to close out, if you notice here, we got that same disc here. And look at all of the different pathways that we have in here coming forth dealing with the people. So Islam. Well, all right. Let us call forth our brothers, our new consul generals, and we're going to close it out after our brother, both Eric Miller Bay, say he connecting too. So I don't know if he connected already, you know, but we're going to see. We're going to, Brother Miller Bay, are you there? Islam. I think our brother, something wrong with his connection. Islam. Well, all right. Well, let us call forth our brother Golden Asher Smith Bay, Divine One Love. We know that's him. Since we up here dealing with the 7th degree. Islam.
Divine family. You know, 156
Oh,
be
Islam, pardon self, brother. I just seen the sister Giza. I think, is that Sister Giza there? Of the Brother Bates Bay Territory, Secretary of the State, or is that Brother Bates
Islam.
using that?
That's
Islam.
I believe that is the goddess.
Okay, well, let us get the goddess real quick and we'll get you, Brother Asher Smith Bay, because we didn't see her just then. She just popped up. Islam, Sister Giza, do you have a message you would like to bring forth?
Islam.
Islam, goddess and queen.
Islam. Gratitude for calling me forth. And I first want to start off and give praise to the great God Allah and honors to his prophet, our prophet Al Sharif Abdul Ali, and extend honors to Act One, our Moorish American government and citizens alike, and to everything that is Moorish. I'm just now tuning in, family. I was at the gym. I was just now tuning in, but I was just looking forward to catching what I could, and being in the midst. But I did miss the class, the majority of the class, family. So I do not have a measure to bring forth today. But gratitude for calling me forth.
Gratitude, goddess. We seen you pop up, so we were just giving honors to you. Islam. Gratitude. Well, all right. Okay, now, brother, I seen the brother pop back up. Miller Bay looked like he dropped clean off of there after that. But brother, Divine One Love, you there?
Yeah, man.
All right, grand man. You gonna take us out?
Definitely, family. We always give all of the great God of love, as they say, raise him up all the ways to the 70th age of last prophet in our time, as he said, children were home. And as I said, it's a gigantic work as a family teach, because really and truly, I hear when I first come here, you open up the meeting all the time. So we have to open up our eye, heart, and mind while the eye open up the way. So that's why the family opening up the way for the 60 million plus. Because you see, as a family say, we have to bring pen and paper. I didn't know what school we're really going back to, but as they say, it's really and truly have to get the pens and paper because there's a lot of work to be done, studying and all these things like the goddess and queen just say, when you go to these ones, you got to have everything down pat because you have to be the message, the answer and the message, you have to be the lesson that the family say. You have to go within these, and when you bring it just like how it's supposed to bring. Because as the 17 angels say, he brought everything it takes to save us as a nation. And I done that Ethiopian is the main one he's talking about, because these ones, like you say, when they're bound down, they are bound down, and we have to go take them up, dust them out so they can start all over again. Because as you say, all them TV and show, as I say, in evil at one call, Star Wars, that one was telling him, let the force be with him. And that's why it said in this new era of time, Act One, the 60 million, the force will be with the home, to bring forth this new era of time. So with that, I say to the 60 million, the family here, there, and everywhere. Family, divine, one love.
Islam. And love divine to you as well, grand man. Man, goodness gracious. Man, Moorish America is on the manifest here. And man, we stretching out to the Canadian borders and the Virgin Islands. All right, now, y'all keep playing. We're going to wake Haile Selassie up. Islam. Well, we want to just thank the Moors for coming out to another research group. It's been a grand one, but time has flied. It don't even seem like we've been on here that long. We just say gratitude to our Moorish kin, and we look forward to meeting our Moors at the next destination. And Brother Ashby Bay, you can take us out, grand man. Peace and love. We love you, Moors.
Islam and gratitude for the class. National System Grand Sheikh. Islam. January 15th, 1929, a warning from the Prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at your opinions. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We offer love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings towards the government or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. By order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam, a holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother hath given you so. Let the bonds of affection, therefore, unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relations that bondeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortune of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all, and your love to each other. Islam, Islam, Islam. Grand class, Moors.
Grand class, grand class.
Islam, Islam.
Grand class,
Grand
gratitude,
class. Grand class.
gratitude,
Great
peace and
class.
love.
Peace and love.
Love you, family.
Islam.
Grand class.
Grand
Grand
class. Islam,
Grand class.
Islam, Islam.
Islam, Islam,
Dr. Schism.
Ooh,
Islam.
Man,
Love you, man.
divine one love family. 60
we
million
can't wait
plus.
for this
Each land.
homework. We can't wait for this homework. Yeah.
Islam at one.
Islam.
Study, study,
And
study.
Islam.
Grand National Terror, will y'all jam up with them uniforms on? Islam.
Islam. That's all
Islam
right. The
is
goddess is gonna be coming out
Number
real
9
soon.
on the
Real
line.
soon.
Islam, yeah. Well, the chairman
Islam.
definitely gave us a divine blessing with a divine dressing, as you say, brother.
Islam. Islam.
Yeah, man. 60 million plus. Each
Love.
land. One love family.
Love.
Bye-bye.